As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the fuck up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome, everyone, to Crunch Time with Jeff Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. It is Friday, August 16th, and we are back.
Here we go.
Weekend. We got preseason this weekend. Kory Woods joining the show today. Can't wait. We love Kory. Always bringing the heat. But we're also going to do something different. We're going to show off not every single, receiving weapons production, but the most important of the bunch. So we're going to go through. We'll show a graphic of what players we have and what their stats will look like receiving. We'll go through Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jameer Khalif, J-Mo. We'll have a graphic. We'll go through that. That'll be fun. We'll do that in about 10 minutes, or we can do it in a couple of minutes because I want to start the show with it so we have plenty of time to do it before Kory joins. But what's going on, everyone in the chat? I see people chiming in. I see ETN in the chat. Good show yesterday, my man. He crushed.
Shout out ETN.
Andrew, happy Friday, fellas. It is Friday, and we got football this weekend, and college football is closer and closer, fellas. Closer and closer.
Football, baby. Football. Let's go. I'm pumped up. Can't wait.
Do you see Connor Stallions? You got
a job. Congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats to the man.
Hey,
Just
making plays. Can't deny
plays.
the dog in Connor Stallions. He's going to find a way. He was not done with college football. He's going to rebuild a program one day, like a dynasty in NCAA. You watch.
I mean, the Connor Stallions stuff. Hey, man, he's just great at his job. Yeah, maybe he did it the wrong way, but he's great at what he does, and he's going to find a way to always win, whether he's cheating or not. Whether you like it or not, whether the NCAA approves of it or not, it's a weird situation, So shout out Connor Stallions.
As a Buckeye fan, I respect it because I'm still the believer that Ryan Day is like the guy that initially made this whole thing happen. So if that's another way to make Ryan Day look weak, get him out of Columbus, I'm all for it.
Yep, fits your narrative.
Connor Stallions.
Shout out Sam, Mr. Sam Reynolds, our guy, Flannel Sam. He's in the chat as well. Much love to you, Sam. But yeah, like I said, we'll go. Yes, he is.
Flannel, let's go, baby.
Come on, the man. Sam Flannel. Much love to that man. Like I said, we're going to go through and show off kind of our predictions on what the weapons production will look like. Not every single player. I didn't put DPJ on there. I was tempted to. We did not include him. Just letting everyone know. Did not include him. Did not include Darius Fountain potentially. So it's just the guys that are probably going to be getting the rock the most. And we'll go through next week and predict rushing yards. Jameer Gibbs and Dave Montgomery will show that graphic off, and we'll.
I'm picking right now in my fantasy draft, boys.
We'll see. We'll see where we differentiate. You're picking right now. Yeah, it's a dynasty draft. You were telling me earlier. You're
dynasty, so it's like rookies and like low level players. Where there's eight rounds. I'm in round 6. I think I'm just gonna go kicker. I think I'm just gonna say, hey, get myself a kicker in the 6th round.
Wow.
Might just go for it.
He told me Jaden Daniels was there, and he was talking about Caleb Williams. I'm like, why are you worried about Caleb Williams, huh, Boone? Just focus on Jaden Daniels. Take him. And we have quarterbacks. Quarterback.
I will say, I did not take him. I'm locked in right now. Brandon Aubrey.
It's not a bad one. They're not going to be scoring that many points. They'll probably be able to get down to the 40 a bunch of times, but Zeke, way past his prime. CD might not even be out there, so they've got to rely on Brandon Cooks and Rico Dowdle, who you did pick up, Booner. Shout out to Rico. Brandon Aubrey, very fine kicker. I like that.
I'm going to get the Jets defense on the way back if they're still there.
You picked Keon Coleman. You were saying earlier.
Yeah, I can give you guys my real quick. I can read off the team if you guys want.
Let's hear it. So
my initial team is, hold on, let me pull it up for you guys real quick so you guys have it. My initial team is, and I got this team from someone. I inherited this team. So this is not a team that I picked. I inherited it. I got Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence. These are all my keepers. Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Jerome Ford, Tyler Boyd, DJ Chark, Jerry Jeudy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Zay Flowers, Travis Kelce, and Dawson Knox. So not a bad. It's not like a terrible squad, but it's just like, hey, I'm building. I just got into this league, and then I ended up picking up first pick overall, fourth overall pick. I got Keon Coleman, Blake Corum, Roman Wilson. Didn't mean to go back-to-back Michigan. Don't take account into that. But Keon Coleman, Blake Corum, Roman Wilson, Treylon Burks. I'm big on Treylon this year. Will Levis, Treylon Burks, Rico Dowdle, and then I just got Brandon Aubrey. So I think I'm stacking that. I'm basically just picking for my bench right now. That's essentially what I'm doing.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, you're only as strong as your weakest link, Booner. Zay Flowers, and for top 15 fantasy season, big fan of him. Who else are your other wide receivers in that?
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Dub.
It's pretty good.
Amon-Ra. DJ Chark, Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Boyd. That's it. So then I got Keon Coleman now. So I got Keon Coleman, Amon-Ra, and Zay Flowers.
After this, sell Jerry Jeudy. His stock is as high as ever going to get. It's the Jerry Jeudy training camp. It's the one-on-one routes where Jerry Judy's one of the better route runners in the NFL. The problem is he just can't put it together during a game consistently. Sell that stock now, Booner. Maybe try to go get Jaden Reed. I think Jaden Reed's good for 100 catches this year.
I enjoy these fantasy drafts. This is my first one of the year, so it's a different one.
I'm with D-Town. I mean, you had me until you said Treylon Burks.
Well, I mean, he's at the bottom of the barrel, it seems.
Let's be fair. So Treylon Burks went. Around him was Jatavion Sanders, Bo Nix, Roshan Johnson, Darnell Mooney, Jalen McMillan. I didn't have many options.
Treylon could easily be traded too. He could easily be traded.
Yeah,
especially if it's a dynasty.
About to go play for the Battle Hawks. That's what he's going to play.
The Battle Hawks. That's disrespectful.
JCJ said, "Were you guys doing anything special to hit 10K?" I had the idea, and I don't know if the boys are still on this, but once we get close to 10K, to do a 24-hour stream with the boys and do a 24 straight hours where we get into a basement or go somewhere, and we're there. We have a bunch of different activities, a bunch of different things we have to do, and we have to hit certain marks. We have to do certain things, and we had just straight 24 hours, a 24-hour stream. I don't think that's a crazy thing.
No, that'd be fun.
We're 300 away, and it's we have to get 300 subs in a day.
Stream till we hit 10K. Or do something. And we have a live sub.
That'll be something.
Yeah, that would be sweet. We'll figure something out. But we're getting there. I mean, we're about 60 away from 9,000. I think could be actually less than that now. But hey, we're getting there. We're getting there, and that's what matters. So appreciate all of you. Every day we check it. It continues to grow up. So go up. So when we get closer to 10K, we're gonna do something. Maybe we do a college football Madden, a Coach Booner collide with something else where we're playing games, we're hanging out, and we're not till we get 10K. We're doing stuff, whatever challenges. We gotta watch. The hot chip challenge. Remember when that was a thing? The one chip or whatever.
I will refuse to do anything with the hot.
Get Booner to do that.
I have limits. That would be one.
We'll figure something out. You mentioned you have Amon-Ra St. Brown on your fantasy team. So I want to, it'd be a perfect segue to go into our receiving yards predictions for the Lion. No, I cannot wait. We have my list, Booner's list. Booner, I'll start you off because you mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we'll go through your list.
All right.
And this is what Booner thinks will happen this upcoming season. At the bottom there, you'll see it. I'll get rid of this lower third so you can look at it better. Goff's total statistics for the selected players, passing yards and TDs combined with those 5 guys. But we didn't have D-Mon on here. We didn't have other guys on here. It's really just the 5 probably most targeted guys in the passing game. But go ahead, Boone.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, I'm just going to start at the very, very bottom where it says Goff's total statistics for players. There we go. I got that out. I want to start there, though, because, it does look like a lot for 4,475 yards with 34 touchdowns. He had 30 last year. He had about 4,500 yards. And I know there's other guys on the team, D-Mont and some tight ends and the wide receiver 4 or 5, who's probably going to get a couple hundred. Again, I wanted to let the people know I have been the one and have been really far on the front line of saying I think Jared Goff, the way he's looked in training camp, the way he's looked in practice, and the way kind of he's been developed over his career, another year with Ben Johnson returning, I think Jared Goff takes another jump here. And I know it's crazy to think, but I truly do believe that. And I've been one of the ones that's been on the front line of that. And on this show, you guys know that. So when you see all those yards, you're like, Booner, how'd you get that high? And then, there's other players. I think Jared Goff has better statistics than he did last year. That's just kind of my mindset with it. And it is hard too. We were kind of having the conversation before the show with these guys in regards to it's tough. Like there's so many like these weapons, these top 6 weapons on this team. They're going to be so good. And I know we battle a lot with the wide receiver 4 or 5, but if you just look at these guys, obviously I have Amon-Ra St. Brown at the top. He had like 1,515 yards last year. And I wanted, and I've been in an argument saying that I think he can do more and he can kind of improve. I just think with the weapons, it's so hard for a guy like him to be able to do that. Like, would I be shocked if he went out there and got 1,700 yards? Not at all. Like, if he got 1,800 yards, not at all. And led the NFL in receiving yards. Klotz, remember we had that argument earlier in the offseason that I was like, I think he can lead the NFL in receiving yards. I wouldn't be shocked if he did it, but realistically, with Jameson Williams taking a step, Sam Laporta year 2, it's realistically, this is, I think, him putting up a similar season than he did last year, which, if you guys think that's a bad season, he was first team All-Pro. And I think, again, this year, he'll be an All-Pro wide receiver again, whether it's first or second team. He's going to do the exact same thing last year and will get that award. Pro Bowl, All-Pro, 1,500-plus yards, 10 touchdowns. I originally had him at 12 touchdowns. I think he goes out there and scores even more, just knowing the type of player he is. So I think he does that. I think Jameson Williams, I wanted to say he takes a step and gets to 1,000 yards. And I heard a couple people say it would be disappointing if he doesn't hit 1,000 yards. I just think with the weapons you have, it's very, very hard. I can't remember where I heard that, Klotz.
For Jameson Williams not to get 1,000 yards, maybe if there wasn't, I mean, we'll get into it more, but if there was, like, look, we just talked about it, like the 6 weapons in this offense. Like, if you want to say A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, like, okay, if Devontae Smith getting 1,000, but Sam Laporta, I think already is on a different level than Dallas Goedert. And both these running backs are going to be producing more than DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott were. So, same thing goes with, like, Miami with Jalen Waddle.
So I just think, like, and then Jalen Waddle, he's a 1,000-yard guy, but the difference is they don't have a Sam Laporta as a tight end. So I just think J-Mo, I think he's going to have a chance to get to 1,000. I just believe, like, with the way Ben Johnson will spread the ball around, like, J-Mo's going to have some big games, massive games, but there will be a couple games here and there to where maybe he doesn't have to do as much because you have Amon-Ra and Sam and Jahmyr Gibbs and Khalif and D-Mont. So you have a lot of different options. So I don't think people, like, I get what people are saying, and I think that's a big step for him. It's going from 350 yards to 875 and 7 touchdowns. I wanted to lower that, but let's be realistic. All training camp, this man's been living in the red zone in the end zone. He's been taking that Josh Reynolds red zone roll over very, very well. You saw it last year in the 49ers game. He had 2 touchdowns in that game alone. And I know one was a rushing, but this guy knows how to get in the end zone. He can catch a pass and go. So I think 7 is, like, realistic. I don't think that's crazy at all. Like, I know some people are like maybe 4 or 5. I think 7. I think his over-under is like 5.5. So I'm taking the over on that. Sam Laporta, I think this guy hits 1,000. I can't see how he doesn't improve. I know there's like 850 and 10 touchdowns last year, was second team All-Pro. There's 0 chance this guy doesn't improve. 0 chance. Like, he is just, his knowledge of the game is getting better in the NFL. He's been in the NFL for a whole nother year. Like, he had this whole year to kind of learn, and he's already said it in the podium that now he knows how the NFL game works. Now he knows where he needs to be for Jared Goff. Like, that's second nature to him now. Now he's able to go out there and work on things that is going to elevate his game and actually take him to a different level. So I think, again, Sam Laporta, a second straight year of an All-Pro season. Khalif Raymond, he had 500. I kind of want to move him up to like a 550, 575. I think he improves a little bit from his last couple of years. Like, I think last year he had 5 something. I think he does improve a little bit. I don't think it's going to be like a big improvement, but I do think he's going to be involved a lot. And he only had 1 touchdown last year. I think he gets a couple this year in some big spots for this Lions team. And then obviously Jahmyr Gibbs. The only thing I was thinking about with Jahmyr Gibbs, I think 500 receiving yards is fair. I think it's very fair. Hold on, guys. I'm up to pick in the fantasy league.
Who are the options, Boone? Who are the options?
I could go. I have 2 picks left. I can go defense, but I can go JJ McCarthy still on the board. And remember, this is a long term. This is a keeper league.
Yeah,
so if Kirk Cousins, Penix, Watson, Tucker Kraft, Taysom Hill, Tank Bigsby in Jacksonville, AJ Dillon, Hunter Henry, Noah Fant, Malik Washington, Frank Gore Jr., Elijah Mitchell, and
Elijah Mitchell is a sneaky one just because if C-Mac goes down. That's what I would do.
Yeah, but they have another. They drafted the Isaiah Agudo kid from Illinois.
I'm trying to think of Malik Washington from Miami's not
over.
a bad one.
Oh, Stover, Ohio State.
Cade Stover, very fine tight end. Very fine Buckeye
This is
tight
good. The
end.
boys are seeing this live. People are seeing this live. This is good. Greg
Get a
Dortch
defense.
out of Arizona.
Ooh, get Dortch. Get
Greg
Dortch.
I don't know why
He's going to
on
be
the
their
board.
slot guy. He's going to be their slot guy because I have
Then I
Michael
gotta go
Wilson and Marvin
defense.
outside. That's where you go.
All right,
All right, yeah, let me finish this. So Jahmyr Gibbs, the thing with him, I think he gets 500 receiving yards. I think he takes a step forward. He had like 350 last year. He will take a step forward. The only thing is I'm not quite sure like the touchdowns with him. I think he only had one receiving touchdown in the regular season. So I think 4 might be a little high for him. I just think like even in the red zone, like I think he could take off and he'll have big plays through the air. I just think like, and it's the same thing for him in rushing. Like I think he gets 10 plus all-purpose touchdowns. But like it was the same when we were thinking about doing rushing today. Is I couldn't get a feel like how many rushing touchdowns he gets because Demont is going to take those goal line touches, and that's just like we know what that's going to be. So I did 4 touchdowns for him. I just think there's going to be a couple screen passes where he takes off and scores. So those are my 5. I don't think it's that crazy. I feel like I'm a little realistic here with it. Maybe I could have added some more yards to some guys, but I mean these 5 guys. Think these are 5. Put these 5 weapons up against any 5 weapons in the NFL. I'll take these guys every day, and that's not even counting team mine.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly realistic, Booner. Like, I think when we were doing it, like, we'll see in a little bit, but I think I have more passing yards than you, and you're the one that's been saying, oh, Jared Goff statistically is going to take a jump, and I've been kind of the one that's like, yeah, I don't see how that happens. But I think we also got to count these are stats for, like, if players play completely healthy, which is not going to be the case. So I think that's also you got to take into account, too. So I think that'll be factored in.
That's the hard. I mean, how do you predict in it? You can't just say like, well, Jameis going to miss 4 games, so he's going to have the like. These are all like based on it. If everyone stays healthy, which math would indicate, history would indicate, it's not going to be the case. I mean, some guys are going to get injured, but I don't hate this. I mean, I think we're probably going to have relatively similar numbers, maybe just tweaked. It depends on who fits, what your narrative is for different players.
Right.
But I don't mind this. I don't mind this at all. 34 TDs amongst those guys. I mean, you look last year. These guys right here in the passing game were the focal point. I mean, Dave Montgomery had like 100 receiving yards. Like it's just not, and that was after everyone else. So Brock Wright had like 90. Like so 4,400 passing yards, almost 4,500. Like okay, factor in the others. You might add 200 more if I'm being honest. Like that's all it's going to be. It's not going to be like 500 more, 600 more yards. Like this is about what he's going to have, roughly for the most part. But yeah, good stuff, Boone. All right, we'll put yours up, Lucas. We'll see what you got.
All right.
See how different it is.
How am I looking, by the way, boys? Am I clear, blurry?
Pretty blurry, if I'm being honest.
Blurry, but you're not like you're not
You're
lagging.
good, though.
You're not lagging. You're doing good. All right, here's Klotzy's list.
Okay.
16 hundo for Amon-Ra.
16. Yeah, I was looking at it and I was just like, there's no way that Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't improve. And I just think 100 yards improving from last year is very realistic for this guy. And I know it's like, oh, where's the production going to come from? Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to find a way to improve. I think he ups his yards and touchdowns stay the same. I wanted to give him more touchdowns, but just looking at it, I think this offense is going to be in a position where they need to put up as many points. So that's why I think me and Booner, it's only by 2 touchdowns, but that's why I think I just have a little bit lower touchdown total than Booner did. Jamison Williams, 785. Again, Jamison Williams is easily a wide receiver that can get 1,000 yards. But when I think 785 and you factor in, he's probably going to have in between 100 to 200 yards on the ground. So I think when you look at Jamison Williams, all-purpose wise, I think he's going to be a guy that's encroaching on 1,000 yards and 6 TDs. I think very generous too, because like I said, if he's getting 100 to 200 yards on the ground, I would expect a touchdown or 2 between that. So when you look at Jamison Williams, 1,000 total all-purpose yards with 7 to 8 touchdowns, all-purpose touchdowns, I think that's a great season for Jamison Williams. I think Lion fans, that's everything you want from him this year. Sam Laporta, Boone, I'm in lockstep with you. He's going to get over 1,000 yards. I think when you look at it, he's going to build even more chemistry with Goff. He's already good at breaking tackles, but he's going to get better. He's going to get better at reading defenses and figuring out zone coverages. Sam Laporta is a guy that's athletic but extremely intelligent and can manipulate defenses and just find a way to get open. And he's only going to get better. That's pretty much the story of this whole offense. Outside of maybe Khalif Raymond, all these guys are young and going to get better. And it's not just because they have another guy, a different quarterback throwing the ball. It's like, no, they're just naturally going to get better by how young they are. Sam Laporta, another all-pro season. I think the touchdowns drop a little bit for the same reason I just mentioned. But are you going to be complaining and being like, what happened if Sam Laporta gets 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns? No. And then Khalif Raymond, I hear you, Boone, with like, because I did want to give him more, and I was looking at his stats just throughout the Lions' history, his years with the Lions. He had a year with 600. He had last year with like 500, but I think this year his role is going to the smallest that has been needed to be. Like Khalif Raymond's still going to be out there a lot, but I just think there's going to be so many other options that haven't been there before, especially with like Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta. All those guys are now going to have a more significant role in this offense compared to when Khalif Raymond first got here. So that's why it's like Khalif, he's going to be a very fine wide receiver for this team. He's going to make very timely plays in big games. Like I think we need to go talk about games like Dallas, San Francisco. Khalif Raymond is going to make timely plays in there because he's going to be the forgotten guy. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, we all agree he's going to be a beast out of the backfield catching the ball. He had like 365, 350 last year for one touchdown. I think that goes up. And Booner, I don't think your touchdowns were low whatsoever. Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, he's going to get probably, how many more catches do you think he gets this year?
Who, Gibbs?
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna get an uptick, and I think he gets like I said, I think last year, like people think he's gonna get a lot more carries. I think it's more so he's gonna just get so many more receptions because
he
they
had
need to
52 last year. So
yeah, I think it goes up significantly. Like I think his touches when it comes out of the backfield will be similar, if not maybe just a little more. But I think that the 52 is going to end up taking a big jump outside.
So I was thinking like probably like 70, 75 catches. And I just think about they're going to give unique ways for him to get the ball in the receiving game. Like it's going to be developed for Jahmyr Gibbs to be in the open field. And that's anyone's worst nightmare, especially when you're talking about when we're screen passes, when you have Penei Sewell in front of him. That's just going to be a thorn in the defensive side, especially on like third downs in the red zone. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a weapon. I think he gets 5 TDs. So that's my list, fellas.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I like it. I don't have a problem with it. I think we're all pretty much in lockstep with Sam Laporta, and you'll see that in a little bit. Jahmyr Gibbs, I will say, and this will tie into my list when I put it up. I think he has more yards than Khalif. I don't know if that sounds sounds a little wild when you say it.
Dude, I do think there's a little bit, and I get you, Jeff. Like, I sound like I'm selling a car or something. I get you here. I hear you there, buddy. But like, I feel like there's a little Khalif Raymond disrespect. Like, I know I had him at 500. Khalif's gonna at least have 500 this year. I can't see the guy not doing it. He's essentially done it every year he's been in Detroit. And I kind of disagree with what Klotz says. Like his role, I don't think it's taken a step back. Like if anything, it's the same. If not, maybe a little more. Because last year you had St. Brown, you had JMO, you had Josh Reynolds, you had Gibbs, and I know Gibbs was a rookie. Now he's taking a step.
Yes.
But like you lose Josh Reynolds, like all right, so JMO steps into that Josh Reynolds role. All right, that's fair. But then someone needs to step into that JMO role. And that's where that wide receiver argument has been. And if you think Gibbs does it, like, all right, let's say Gibbs, he already had 350 yards, almost 400 last year receiving. Say he adds a couple hundred more. Like JMO had 350, 400 last year. Like I think like you still need Khalif to get what he got last year. And then you still need to make some up for Josh Reynolds and what JMO did. So I do think like Khalif's going to go out there and get at least 500.
I get that. The only thing I would say is like if I look at it like a pie chart or like who's getting it, there's like a total amount of yards Goff will have. I think with the loss of Reynolds, like at least how I see it, like JMO, Laporta, and Gibbs go up, and someone's got to come a little down. I just think with how much those guys go up, and I would probably point to, Khalif. Just a little bit. It's not significant. Like here, take a look at my list. All right, this is mine. Like I have 25 less yards. Okay, so it's not like that significant. But I do have Jahmyr Gibbs having more receiving yards than him, just because they're playing him in the slot. So I think they're going to find a way to get him on the field more involved more in the passing game. Like he caught 50 balls last year. I think he catches at least 60 this year, and he does more with it. To Booner's point, so I'm going to see. I think an uptick in receiving yards for him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, we agree he's going to be in the 1,500 range. That's just where he's going to live, I think, for the next couple of years. He's got that type of talent. He's just going to get minimum. I mean, if you want to go like ceiling floor like we did last year, I think Amon-Ra's floor in a season is like 1,400. Like the dude's just going to get
very fair point.
He's going to get around 1,500 yards. I believe it, and I think he gets close to 1,600 in this right here. JMO, I have at 820. And like you said, Lucas has all the talent. I just think with the weapons, and he's not going to have all the opportunities, but And I want to say real quick, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 12 TDs. I think with the loss of Josh Reynolds, he's going to benefit the most, in my opinion, from in the red zone. I think they're going to look at Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you could say Sam Laporta. I think those two are probably going to benefit. But I think Amon-Ra, the way he's been playing in camp, the dude's catching ridiculous TD catches everywhere. He's always open, scoring TDs. I think he gets double-digit TDs, and I think he has more than he did last year. And then Sam Laporta, I have at 1,050 because I think Sam Laporta is a 1,000-yard tight end. So
Talk to me. I
think he is. He has the talent. I know the injury stuff. We bring it up with all these players. I'm not predicting injuries. So Sam Laporta, if healthy, will be a 1,000-yard tight end. So I have him at 1,050. And then Khalif, I have him a little down. I just think with, well, like I said, Jahmyr Gibbs going up, Khalif's going to be the one that probably gets hurt a little bit, but he's still going to be involved. I just, that's how much I believe in Jahmyr Gibbs' receiving ability. I think he's basically another weapon out there. And I think he does more. He could do more with the football than Khalif in open field situations. Like, he's going to make guys miss. Yak will be crazy for him, and he'll be able to get at least 500 yards this year. So that's my receiving yards. I got Goff at 45 passing yards, and then or 45 passing yards and 32 TDs. So a little less TDs than you, Boone. Only 2. I think I knocked J-Mo down a little bit. And then I think I knocked 1 or 2 off Jahmyr from what you had, but basically similar. We all have Goff over 30 TDs and over 4,400 passing yards, at least with these guys. So Goff, I think we're all in agreement. Goff's going to have at least 30 TDs passing this year, and he's going to have in the range of 4,000 passing yards. That's just.
Well, I think to everyone, like from what we all have, I think we're all saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Goff's going to have 4,700 passing yards this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. I mean, even Mike's question, and we can all answer this because I think we all put it here. The reasoning for limiting J-Mo under 1,000 because he hasn't proven it, or because the D will begin to double? Otherwise, no reason to think so. You guys can take. We're all going to say the same thing. So you're taking
the weapons on the team. I mean, I think it's going to be. I'm not going to say J-Mo's going to be limited, but they're going to find ways to obviously get him involved in the offense. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, first team All-Pro, Sam Laporta, second team All-Pro, Jahmyr Gibbs, Pro Bowler, D-Mount, could have been a Pro Bowler. Like, you have so many weapons, and I think J-Mo can be a Pro Bowler in this league. It's just there's so many. There's one football, and there's so many bodies, and you can only throw one football around. So, like, I don't think it's a bad thing with J-Mo being at 820. I think I had him at 850. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, and I think like you're going to see J-Mo in a more improved Josh Reynolds role this year. Like, what did Josh Reynolds have last year, boys? 600.
Yeah, like a little over.
I think or Jameson Williams gives you 200 more than Josh Reynolds does. And Josh Reynolds made some big time plays in some big games outside of the NFC Championship game, throughout down the stretch and throughout the game. He made some big time plays and on first downs, touchdowns. And I think that's where J-Mo does it. I think J-Mo just does what Josh Reynolds did. It's not that J-Mo isn't like J-Mo's way better than Josh Reynolds, in my opinion, talent wise. It's just that's going to be his role on the team, but he's going to do it at such a high level, a way higher level. I think people look at, I think J-Mo could be a wide receiver 1 at some point in his career. I just think people you have to look at some of the weapons, there's roles on teams. It's like in basketball, it's like in any sport. You have to play your role to an elite level. I think J-Mo's going to play that role, kind of as that guy. Amon-Ra's the possession guy. J-Mo's going to be give me a 30-yard catch. Give me a 20-yard catch. Let's go. Let's take you deep one time. He's going to be that guy, and he's also going to have some short possessions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you spot on, Boone.
Yeah, I've said this before, and it just doesn't. And I love J-Mo. I've been I mean, if Sam was in the chat, he would even know. We've all went at different people for opposing J-Mo takes. I've been a huge J-Mo supporter, but I'll give you the reality. And it's unfortunate that I even have to say this, but I just think it's true. Given his situation, given the weapons that are around him, I don't think J-Mo will ever be a wide receiver 1 in Detroit. I just don't think with Amon-Ra, he's going to be your wide receiver 1 till he hangs up his cleats. That is just how it's going to be. And then Sam Laporta is already basically, he's already one of the best tight ends. So I think J-Mo, like you said, Boone, if he fulfills his role, you have a really good player as your number 2 wide receiver, and it makes your offense that much more deadly. But when you bring up wide receiver 1, I think for him to do that, it wouldn't be in Detroit. I think it would have to be somewhere else. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it would be.
He'll ever surpass Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And I don't think that's a bad thing on his end too. And I think people take it when you say that. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think Amon-Ra St. Brown's that good. He just got a first team All Pro. That, you know how hard it is to do that in the NFL, and he just accomplished that. And I promise you this, and anyone that's probably in that building will tell you, Amon-Ra St. Brown's not slowing down at all. Like, he is only probably going to keep getting better. He probably has new goals in his notebook, and he probably increased them. Well, and I think, like, with JMO, it's just the thing with JMO. It's like JMO has goals too, and I think JMO's that good to be a one on a team. So you essentially, like, at some point you have a 1A 1B type of players. So they're both not going to be able to have 1,500 yards. Like, I don't think anyone in the NFL has ever done that. And then especially if you have a All-Pro tight end, if you have an All-Pro tight end with Sam Laporta, and then you have a potential All-Pro running back in Gibbs, the offense is stacked, dude. It's the potential
guys,
of it.
Let me ask you: do you believe that Devonta Smith could be a wide receiver one somewhere else?
I think Devonta Smith would be the same receiver he is now anywhere else. Maybe a little bit more yards, but
I think if he gets in the right position.
You think
I think Devonta is one of those receivers. He could be wide receiver one, but I don't think he'd be like drastically better. I think AJ Brown honestly does help out Devonta Smith.
Okay, obviously, well, that's a bad example. But my point being is, like,
I get what you're saying. Like, I think T. Higgins. Like, T. Higgins is a guy that can go somewhere.
Okay, great example.
That's a good one. Yeah, like that's my point. Is like he's a maybe that terminology like gets people like triggered a little bit. It's like, well, he's a wide receiver, but the role he's playing. That's what I mean. Like, I don't think he'll ever be. He's not going to put up 1,500 yards with Amon-Ra putting up 1,500 yards.
I think the only wide receiver duo to ever even get numbers like that would be like Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce with Kurt Warner back in the day. And they were literally called the greatest show on turf. And they had Marshall Faulk in the backfield, and they didn't have a tight end that was putting up crazy. Exactly. I can't even think of who their tight end was. So it was probably like not a slouch, but probably a jag. I could be wrong, but it wasn't anybody like notable.
I mean, I'll tell you a guy that's not a jag, and that's Kory Woods. I mean, he's just not. And he's chilling. So we're going to welcome in Kory. Talk a little bit about this weekend and some of the stuff that we've been, the rumors and stuff we've been hearing about training camp. So please welcome to the show, Pistons and Detroit Lions beat writer for MLive.com. Please welcome Mr. Kory Woods. Kory?
What's going on, y'all?
How you doing, my man?
I am tired, but I am here. And real quick, I think another combo that you guys forgot about is, I mean, you can't leave out Randy Moss and Chris Carter. What they did, they were sick.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'll ask you about that, Kory. It's a good little transition. And every time we bring up like JMO's production, we always have this combo, and this is my take on it. All right, Amon-Ra St. Brown, we know what player he is. We already know All Pro. He's that guy. Then you have Sam Laporta, who's just an All Pro. I think depending on who you're higher on is going to be the guy with 1,000. Like, for me, I think Sam Laporta is that good. I'm giving him 1,000, but others might say, well, JMO's so good, he might just top Sam Laporta. Sam could get his 700-800. He might just be that guy. But where are you at with that? Like, between the Sam Laporta or JMO? Because we know all three aren't getting 1,000, or else you're going in the history books as one of the greatest offenses of all time.
I think right now I would say it's inconclusive because we have not really seen a full season of the Jared Goff, Jameson Williams connection. I mean, we just haven't.
Right.
This is going to be the first real, from start to finish, knock on wood, barring anything crazy happens, but this is going to be the first time these guys are going to really be able to start the season together. And right now, I think that if you just look at, first off, like these guys said, we know what Amon-Ra St. Brown is. Like, just call him Steady Eddie. You know what you're going to get from him, north of 1,100 yards, probably get double-digit touchdowns. Sam Laporta, I was high on him when the Lions drafted him last year, but I honestly did not expect all pro out of him, and he turned out to be arguably, if you can say, the steal of the draft. I mean, just look at what the production that he's done and how he's improved the Lions offense. It definitely justified their decision to go ahead and move away from TJ Hockenson and try to go and get somebody different that fit their needs. But Jameson Williams is the one where you're it's kind of like you see the potential of him being a number one receiver. I mean, good Lord, he's even faster than what he was last year. That's kind of even blasphemous to say, but he is a little bit stronger. And you just want to see that connection between him and Goff. You want to see that connection develop the way that people are hoping it is. And I mean, over the past couple of days, at least with that last day in camp, Goff was slinging the heck out of it, and some of the throws him and Jamal connected on were just wow, just super pretty over the shoulder catches. This one catch, I believe that's when Jamal hit the nene after the dance. Goff threw that where only he could get it. It was just almost like a perfect pass. So if that connection and that timing works, the sky is going to be the limit for Jamal. But again, I would say right now, I would think that in terms of trusting of who Goff like probably trusts, who's going to get most of those catches, I think it would probably be St. Brown and Laporta out the gate. But again, this is just my opinion.
Right.
Kory, I want to kind of just transition over to tomorrow's game, Kansas City, versus the Chiefs. I just want to kind of get your thoughts on what you're looking for into this game, especially when it comes down to the position battles and guys that are on the cut line and kind of fighting for these spots here. What guys are you looking for, and who do you think kind of can really stand out tomorrow and kind of make their case to make this roster?
Well, there are two battles that I'm really looking at, and I think I said it last time, if I'm not mistaken. So correct me if I did, but I'm looking at the wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, and then I'm looking at the running back battles, because pretty much everywhere else you can kind of like see guys have made a name for themselves. I mean, nobody's taking the RB1, RB2 spot. Nobody's taking the top 2 wide receiver spot. Somebody's taking quarterback. On defense, obviously the battle at cornerback, just trying to see how things are going to fill out there. But that wide receiver 3 spot is one that I'm looking at, is one that the coaches are looking at. Dan Campbell talked about it this week. He said a lot of the guys look good, but he's looking for somebody to just step up and make a name for themselves. And that's the tough spot they're in, because they lost Josh Reynolds. I mean, yeah, Josh didn't play particularly well in that NFC Championship game, but I mean, he was Goff's most reliable target since he got here. And Fountain has looked good. Khalif Raymond has looked good. DPJ has started to step it up a lot more as that's a guy I believe they really want to go ahead and take that leap, because he's a big body receiver, a guy that can go up and go get those 50-50 balls. But that's the position battle I'm going to be looking at, is that third wide receiver, because that is going to determine how explosive this offense is going to be. Like I said, I'm also looking at the running back position. I'm going to be looking and seeing if Zonovan Knight is going to be able to go ahead and step up and make a name for himself, like he said a couple of weeks ago when I talked to him, because I think I repeated this before. He said he wants to be able to show Lions fans that he can be that 215-pound, 220-pound running back that can be explosive out the backfield. Now, he did not get a chance to really show that in the first game. So that's what I'm going to be looking for tomorrow. And there's those two battles right there. And I'm also looking to see if Hendon Hooker is actually going to be able to take the field. I mean, that Dan Campbell said towards the end of the week that he was going to be able to probably be good, but I'm going to see if he actually takes the field, because we've seen how shaky Nate Sudfeld looked last week. They brought in Jake Fromm, and that's another battle that I'm looking at as well, the QB2.
Jake Fromm, man.
Hey, the Jake Fromm hype's real, Kory. I'm telling you, don't let that man get hot. But I am interested to see Hendon play, especially against a defensive coordinator like Steve Spagnuolo. They're going to be playing their starters, so Hendon's definitely one to watch. Another guy that showed out, I think, expectedly is Meek Robertson. So Meek Robertson, with the injury to Terrion Arnold, I'd expect for him to be back out there this week, especially with the Chiefs pulling out their ones. I think that'd be a really good experience for Meek. How has he looked in camp following the Giants game? Or what are kind of the expectations for him after that going into the season right now with all the injuries going on?
Meek has looked solid. He's looked like a dog. That's a guy that they're also expecting that can come up and play that playing that nickel spot for them as well. But the one thing I want to say about a Meek is his work ethic. I mean, they brought in a guy that is really all grit. When you talk about guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Khalif Raymond staying after practice overtime to work on their game, specifically on the jugs machine, there is another guy out there on that jugs machine as well. That's a Meek Robertson. And I don't think, I've seen all the quarterbacks before, stay after and work on aspects of their game, but I don't know if I've seen one coming. Since at least since I've covered the team, and if somebody else saw it, hey, more power to them. I don't know if I've seen any of the cornerbacks stay after practice on the jugs machine the way that he does. And even if he misses one ball, even if it's like almost slips his hands, he's like angry at himself. So he's putting a lot of pressure on himself in camp to be able to step up and show out in this with this Lions team. And that's another guy that I talked to that is just really happy to be here. He's loving the environment and being able to learn from Aaron Glenn in that whole defensive room. So he's looked solid. He's looked solid in camp. Looked like a guy that could probably come in here and be able to make some plays for them in that nickel spot. But that's a guy that you guys should probably keep an eye on as well. But he's been doing good in camp, and he's been working his butt off from what I've seen.
Another player too, Kory, Brandon Joseph, who, a guy has a nose for the football. He could take the football away. I mean, everyone knew that about him coming out. He went to Northwestern, then Notre Dame. What have you seen? Because the guy's been playing, at least when we were there the one day, and I know a lot of training camp, they're experimenting, so you're not trying to overreact to like everything. But I saw he was playing next to Kirby Joseph when Brian Branch was out to the sideline working with some trainers. What do you think of Brandon Joseph, and what kind of player could he be? Because I think they're really looking for a backup safety, and I think they might have found one with Brandon Joseph.
That's going to be a guy that, when it comes down to making their cuts and making their final decisions, I think that's going to be a guy that, at bare minimum, makes the practice squad. I actually see him probably making the team. I mean, look, that showing that you guys saw when you came to practice, that has been throughout camp. He's been locked down, knocking down passes. That's not the first time that he picked off Jared Goff. He picked him up a couple of times during practice throughout camp. He had an interception in the game last week. So this is the guy that has been stepping up and making the most of his time out there. And they do need some depth at that safety position. And I believe that he's a guy that is going to possibly make a run. He's make a name for himself when making a team. I think that if they did have to cut him, that would be probably one they'll be like, didn't want to do, try their hardest to get him on the practice squad. But I think if he continues at the way that he's going right now, as far as how he's playing in coverage, how he has a nose for the ball, I do not see him being one of the cuts. I see him making the 53-man roster.
Yeah, agreed.
I love that.
Great from Will Harris, I'll tell you that much.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, I would say this. Will's a very, very nice guy.
I have heard that, Kory. I will not deny that. Great for the community, just on the field.
Yeah,
different story.
He's had some struggles.
Yep, he did have some struggles.
Hey, Kory, another player that I've at least had my eye on, and since the last time I think we spoke with you, the preseason game happened, and Isaac Ukwu kind of showed out, and he went out there, and it felt like he went out there. Obviously, the sack he had, and then in practice, Dan mentioned, he said every single day he's making a play. Do you think he can make the roster? Where do you stand on that? And like, I know this defensive line room is an interesting one. Especially with all the Josh Pascals, the Levi O's kind of stepping up a little bit more. But do you think on the back end there, like who's at the bottom of that room that makes the roster in that like 9th, 10th spot? Do you think Isaac Ukwu has a chance?
I believe he does. I mean, whether that happens remains to be seen. But like you just said, that's a guy that Dan Campbell is really high on. That's a guy that Terrell Williams is really high on. They have spoken well about him. Shoot, he was pretty much the camp darling the other day, just off of the plays that he was making on the field and getting into the backfield. And on top of it, just the way that he's just been carrying himself in camp. You would think he's already been on the line, just the grit in the whole demeanor that he's shown so far with the team. But he's a guy out there that they could make a name for himself. I'm going to be keeping an extra eye on the defensive line and those linebackers the next time we get a chance to look at them. But he's a guy he's a guy they're high on and couldn't make the team. Like I told you guys before, I was really looking at those real hardcore skill position battles. That was a lot of my focus on this year's camp, because this offense has a chance to take that next level. But look, again, for the things that I've seen on defense, he's been looking pretty good.
And a guy, Kory, that I think all of us here are not extremely high on, but that we have reasonable expectations for, but we haven't heard a lot of camp is Josh Pascal. and you're there every day, and we haven't heard good or bad. So what you've seen in camp and what you've heard inside the locker room with Josh Pascal, what's going on with him? Just because we haven't heard much, and he would have thought that he would have been a player that would have played in last preseason game, but he was inactive. And I think that's a good sign for him. Like, hey, we know what you are. We don't need to risk injury, but I think he's a guy that could use all the playing time he can get right now to get into that rotation. So what's the update on Josh Pascal?
For me, it's inconclusive. I personally have not seen anything from Washington defense. I haven't seen anything that made me pop about Josh Pascal. I haven't seen anything that really gave me too much cause for concern. It's kind of like, for me, it's like,
yeah,
he's treading water. So, tomorrow's game, that is going to be one where if he's out there and he gets some meaningful snaps, I'm going to be looking to see what he does. But just haven't really seen anything good, bad, or indifferent about him, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you, Kory. Even when you're tired, you're joining the fellas. We just appreciate it so much. Hey, follow him at Kory E. Woods and check his stuff out, mlive.com. Kory, we'll talk to you very soon, my man. Good luck this weekend.
Appreciate you, Kory.
All right, there you go. Kory Woods, the GOAT, joining the
legend.
program. Yeah, even when he's tired, makes time for the fellas.
It was good seeing Kory too at training camp. That was we've done Kory interviews with Kory for so long, and obviously where we were before, I was able to communicate with him a little bit, but I've never actually met Kory in person. So that last week I met him at training camp, or earlier this week. It was cool. Kory's a good dude, man.
Yeah, he's one of the most genuine people I've ever met. Probably. I mean, he's a guy anyone can go up to him, talk to him. Super down to earth. Cool dude, man. Well, fellas, training camp kind of coming to a close. Still going to be practicing, but the training camp, at least the experience, we've went to a handful of training camp days. I thought it'd be a good idea today to do a kind of a Detroit Lions training camp stock market where, Booner, you bring up some players and we'll all say, are they rising, stocks falling, or maybe they just stayed the same, kind of like what Kory did with Josh Pascal. So let's see what we got today, Boone.
So the guys that I got, there's a handful of guys, and I know we did this a couple of weeks ago. I think, Jeff, when you brought it up, it's a good thing because it's the end of camp. I know there's another week of preseason, but technically, I think the Lions even posted it was like camp's over. So essentially, you're going to start looking at some of these guys, and the players that I went out and got, I don't have any starters on this list. Zero starters. I really wanted to just go through. There's about 12 to 14 players, and they're all backups, players that probably can make the team and some who might not. And we're going to see where we think they are. I would like to see the chat too, get involved a little bit too. First one I want to start here. This probably is a starter. This might be the closest player and the only starter on this list, but I just want to get a feeling for where you guys are in the chat is with this guy. We haven't seen him much, but Marcus Davenport. He's a weird camp guy. He's played in the NFL. He's a vet. Some, like Jeff, I think you said you kind of want to see him on Saturday. You want to see him tomorrow play.
Well, no,
you guys
wrap him in bubble wrap. But
that's what you said. All right, we talked about him playing, and some people said, "What do you guys at with Davenport though? Like, how are you feeling about him? Because we haven't seen him much, to be honest."
I mean, for me, it doesn't change. Like, I think when you have guys like Marcus Davenport, even though I'm not the highest on him, a training camp is not going to sway my opinion on him. Even though, like, he started off the offseason, he was banged up. It wasn't anything significant, but they were holding him out. And you haven't heard anything like Kory kind of said about Pascal. Like, you've heard that Marcus Davenport, he's sneaky as far as like how good he could be, but I don't think there's been a consistent like narrative with Marcus Davenport is tearing up training camp. And same thing with the negative. So I think Marcus Davenport, even though I'm not the highest on him, I definitely I haven't seen anything to make me more concerned or even just like surprised. Like, I think this dude's gonna be a dog. I still think he's a guy that can go out there and get 6 sacks this year.
Jeff?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the same thing. I think it stayed the same for me. I still have the same concerns, the staying healthy thing, which that's not something he's going to change in training camp. So I'll just make that very clear. But to Lukas, what Lukas just said, I haven't heard enough to where I can say his stock's rising. I just haven't. I think Davenport's a good player. Like, even when you see in camp, like, oh, Davenport got a pressure today, or he got a sack, or would have been a sack. Like, that stuff doesn't make me go, oh, stock's rising. Like, we know he can play. I just haven't seen enough to the point to where it's like, oh, this guy is even way better than I expected. So I'm going to say he's staying the same.
Bad start for me. Bad first player.
Hey,
I'm going to say
he's
he's
shooting 100.
This one's going to be. This is probably one of the more interesting ones because I'm interested to see. This is a guy that Lions fans don't like, but and I'll start this off. I think this guy's stock's gone way up a ton. And I think this training camp, he's benefited a lot. He's made a ton of big time plays. He's been out there, and I think Dan Campbell sees it. And he's taken a step forward this offseason to where you see guys struggle in a year or kind of go through a little bit of stuff. And it's like, hey, you either can bounce back or you either can just go down in a hole and you're done. Your career's over. And this guy's taken a step forward. And he's taken a bigger step forward than I think anyone expected. Kendall Vildor, I would say his stock is going up. I think it's a rising stock right now. What we saw at camp, we were there 4 days of camp. The last 2 or 3 practices that I saw, Kendall Vildor was making plays. And you have to put it in perspective. You're not looking at Kendall Vildor as a starter. You're looking at as a depth piece, as backup. Can this guy give you something if you need it? And like from what he's shown in camp, you could probably trust him as a backup. Like last year in the NFC Championship game, he was starting. Like that's not him anymore. He finally could take a step back and be like, all right, I'm a role player. Like I'm a guy that needs to step in when it's needed. So I think like now he's been able to find a real role on this team and not as a CB2 as he was in the NFC Championship game. I think his stock's going up, and he's going to make the team, and he's going to be your kind of 4th, 5th guy off the bench.
Hefe?
Here's the thing with Kendall Vildor. All right. I think I know what he is, and I think, to be honest, I will say this. I think the NFC Championship game, kind of like what Josh Reynolds did for him, even though Josh Reynolds proved a lot more during the season, but that one game stuck in people's minds about him. I think they're doing that with Kendall Vildor. Like, yeah, he had moments during the regular season where it was not great, but I think that NFC Championship game really sealed it to where people are like, oh, that play where IU caught, like that just absolutely, that's been the narrative. I'm kind of the same. Like, I think Kendall Vildor's a solid rotational piece, but I don't think, like, if let's say there's an injury and he's starting, I'm still in the same spot I was last year to where I'm like,
that's fair.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I will say stay the same, but I will not deny he has played way better this week, and he's played very, very well. But I'm still kind of it's not enough for me to say he's rising. Like he's for
his position as a backup, he has been playing better.
Yeah,
that's where I look at. I don't a lot of these guys I'm not judging. Like I'm not comparing him to Carlton Davis.
No.
Like if I was doing that, like that's why I'm like his stock's going up, and like I think a lot of people hear Kendall Vildor and they're like, if we need him, if he's a starter again, like a month ago, people probably would have been like, he's not going to make the team. Like no one wanted him on the team. After the last 2 weeks of camp, everyone's like, yep, he's probably in. That's a rising stock.
You have an argument for both.
That's a rising stock.
What do you think, Klotzy?
No, I'm aligning with Jeff here. Boone, I get your argument 1,000%. I think just where I'm taking it from is I think he's still the same player last year that he was this year. But to your point, he's in a different role, so he's going to be able to flourish more. But I just think overall, he's the same player that he is. He's never going to be a cornerback 1, 2, or in my opinion, 3. But I think he could be a good to very fine cornerback 4, 5, or 6. And I think that's what it'll be for this team. Like I'd be more confident with Vildor out there than a Stephen Gilmore. That's not a stray Gilmore either. I just think Vildor does bring more to the table.
Yeah.
Can't deny that.
No, I agree with that. Like he is one of the better like depth pieces. I think like I'm comfortable with him as like a depth piece. Like if he's in for a game, I can handle it. Like I'd be like, cool, you got Vildor for a game. But like once it's like, let's say it's like the season, I'm like, oh, okay, well now
he'll be good on special teams too.
I'm a little worried.
Yeah. Next player here, another secondary player, and I think we all are going to have the same kind of thought process on this. Safety Brandon Joseph.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Jeff, I'll start with you this time. What do you think?
So I love Brandon Joseph. Stock is rising. I mean, you should have bought it a couple weeks ago because now it's shit. The guy, I think from when he first got here, they signed him as an undrafted free agent until now. Guy's got ball skills. Guy's got cover skills. And the biggest thing people came at him for, or not people, but I guess draft analysts when he was coming out was, I guess, the 40 speed. That was like a big thing. Dude just has a knack for the football. Guy can play. You don't have the takeaways he had in college if you can't play. So I like Brandon Joseph a lot. So I'm going to say rising, like very quickly. Like this dude, I think he's going to make the roster. I think I don't even doubt that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff, and I think we're all going to be rising. It's hard to say he's not, but when you're talking about a guy that he had a couple straight days in camp where he had an interception, he comes out against the Giants, has an interception, and when you look at it, he's going to have to be replacing kind of like that Tracy Walker role. And Tracy Walker, he was a very good Detroit Lion, but I think this season you can really see that one, the injuries are taking a toll on him. He's just not the same player, and I think Brandon Joseph, more athletic, obviously doesn't have the experience, or he's probably not as good as a tackler as Tracy Walker, but in coverage, just overall, I think he'll be he's very capable of taking over that role. So Brandon Joseph, he's going to be probably making this team for a lock, and I definitely see him like taking some snaps on defense situationally.
Yeah, I'm obviously rising. I mean, this guy's made plays. Even when we were at camp the other day, this dude was just out there. He was all over. I love Brandon Joseph. I went back today and watched the first half of the Lions preseason game last week, and he's everywhere. He's good. And Dan was like, hey, we just told him to be more physical, and he did that. I like Brandon Joseph. He's starting to form into his own, and you're starting to see a little bit out of him. I feel like, dude, like think about the safeties in this that's been in this building. Like AG has had these safeties just absolutely dialed. Like it's such a good defense for these guys to just come in and blossom. So like I think Brandon Joseph's starting to see that.
He's the perfect backup to me for Kirby. Like that free safety. Like if Kirby were to go down, like if you have Brandon Joseph back there, you still have a guy that can just take the ball away. Like I do, especially with the experience he's got in this training camp. He's been playing with the ones. I think they do have a long-term vision for him. Not like maybe, taking Kirby's job, but just getting him ready for like any of that. Yeah, getting him ready. I think he's going to end up making the final roster. I agree with the chat. If he's on the practice squad, that dude is good as gone. Like someone's
instantly. You have to. Brandon Joseph is, I think, almost a lock on the team now because that's like your fourth safety, and you need him to be like someone will pick him up instantly, and it could be another playoff team, to be honest, that needs depth at that position. Then let's just do this real quick. Let's. I want to hear you guys with this one. Ife Melifonwu.
I mean, we be honest here, fella. At least for me, and I don't think if he's bad by any means. I think if he's going to be a very good player for this team, but I think his stock has fallen a little bit, and that's just a circumstance of it was so high. And then when we go to camp, I think you see that Brian Branch clearly going to be taking that safety spot. Kirby Joseph clearly going to be taking over that safety spot. And there's a battle going on with the nickel spot. Ife Melifonwu, the way he was looking at the end of last year, you'd have said there's no way that Ife Melifonwu is not starting for the 11-man defense for the Detroit Lions and Aaron Glenn. And I think now there's a conversation where if he's still be getting on the field, but you don't know if he's going to be starting, and that's a different circumstance from last season. So I think Ife going to be a very fine player for this team. I still think he's going to be very good, but his stock has fallen a little bit. I just think because it was so high.
Yeah, that's like that. And that's, you know what, that's a good one because his stock was so high last year. I'll say with me personally, I think it stayed the same because I've said this with other players and specifically Hendon Hooker. I think there's part of it I do believe is if he, and some players are like this, where in training camp, they're, kind of just hanging in there. But then I think when you put him in a game, I do think you'll see that Iffy, what you saw last year, like I think he could still play to that level.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll get like significantly better. I think that's about what you're getting out of Iffy last year, which was like ridiculous. So I guess if you're going off rising, falling, if you say falling, I don't hate it. I'm going to say stay the same because I think once he gets into a game, I'm not going to be concerned. I think you'll still see what you saw last year to some extent. So I'm gonna go say the same. I think dude might just be a gamer, absolute gamer.
That's my thought process is like I don't think if he got worse. Like if anything, like he's still iffy that we saw in those final games last year when he went on that stretch. So I think more so it's kind of what you said, and Jeff, like both of you guys, like it's just a bad circumstance that he's in with Brian Branch having to move over, and Kirby's going to be Kirby, and like you like the only thing that really got me was last practice that we were at, and Jeff, I looked at you and I was like, dude, I need like double check for me. But Brian Branch is out, and guess who fills in there? Brandon Joseph. And if he was still with the second team. So I don't know if it could have been more so, hey, they wanted a vet on the second team to help kind of run things a little bit. But it was interesting that Brandon Joseph was the guy that stepped in for Branch, because to Jeff's point, Brandon Joseph's the guy who you think probably would go in for a Kirby and be his backup, and if he probably would come in for a Branch, and it was Brandon Joseph, and you had Brandon Joseph and Kirby out there. So that was where it's interesting. I'm going to stay the same because Jeff, I'm lockstep with you. If you have to throw him in, he's going to do what he did last. Like maybe not as high as a level, but he's going to be Iffy Melifonwu that we know that can go out there and produce for you. It's really odd to me that the snap count. I'm interested to see how it works out for a guy like him. It's going to be
the thing that's interesting is like the level he played at last year. Like if he plays like that for an entire season, dude, he's like.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I think it has to fall a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I don't hate the falling argument.
Like it's not that his skill has went down. His skill could have even gotten better, but I just think his chance to get on the field is lesser than what it was last year, even with injury, because I still think he has a really good shot to get on the field a lot at the nickel spot. But you talk about guys like Meek Robertson and Ennis Rakestraw. I still think that if he has a chance to play over those guys, but he's got to work for it harder than he did last year.
Yeah, I mean, if he played like he did last season for the entire season, dude might be like the best safety in football. I mean,
he'd be the best player on the team.
Yeah,
100%.
I don't. So I do. I get that. I get that argument. But hey, what do we got next, Boone?
Next player here, we're going to the offensive side of the ball here for a couple picks.
Right.
Let's do Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'm interested. This is another one. It feels like a
rising.
Not as much as an iffy one. But there is like this thing to where he has had such a bad mini camp, such a bad OTA. He came into training camp, didn't pass his conditioning test day one, and he lost his position to Darius Fountain. And then now a little bit, I'll say this. I personally, like, people are like, hey, DPJ's showing up again. He's starting to turn. He's showing a little life. It's not that he's sitting there and it's like, oh no, he's made a play here and there over the last week, and that's about it. Like, it's nothing for you to be like, oh, I think like even tomorrow, his job's. I'm not saying him getting cut, but his wide receiver 4 job is on the line tomorrow. Where do you guys at with this?
I would say I'm going to have to agree with you that it's dropped, but I'm not going to go like where, oh my God, DPJ's just a shell of himself. I still think when DPJ is out in the field for the Detroit Lions, he's going to be doing what he always has been doing his whole career. He's just going to be a consistent guy. Like I said, if DPJ runs a slant route, a hitch route, a fade route, and the ball hits his hand, I trust that he's going to catch it. Now, I don't think he's going to be relied on as much as Lions fans, including myself, for anticipating this offseason. But at the end of the day, I still think Donovan Peoples-Jones is Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't think he's going to fall off at 24, 25 years old. I don't. So slight fall off.
This one's tough. Because are we going the last week?
Last week.
Can we argue?
Yeah, we go in the last 48 hours.
Yeah, Boone. Can I go last 2 days?
No, training camp.
All right, it's falling.
Well,
It's falling. At least especially for me, because I've had higher expectations of him. I mean, hell, I thought he would be kind of right on that Khalif level, and he's not there. So I would say falling. But if you look at the stock, it's like it's showing like a little it's like a little heartbeat. You know, like it's going up a little bit. Maybe wait, just hold, see if it keeps rising. But at this point, Boone, it's plummeting. Maybe buy low. We'll see.
You know what? I'm not buying anything.
Selling the stock.
I still had my stock from when he was at Michigan and got drafted. I'm selling everything now. I don't even care if I lost profit or anything. Like, I was the one like months ago in training or in minicamp where I was saying like, hey, keep an eye on this. Like, this is interesting. Dan's not saying anything positive about him. I never wanted him to fail. I didn't want him to be in the position he's in today. He doesn't look anywhere near like he was when he was in Cleveland. And that's just a fact. We've seen him at practice and everything. If he looked like he did at Cleveland, Jeff, we would have seen that practice him the last couple of days. We would have seen him go out there and catch multiple passes. Didn't see that much. Didn't see it much. So yeah, he might be able to go out there and just be an average or a below average NFL wide receiver. But Klotz, like, I get what you're saying. Like, he's just not going to fall off at 25. Hey, welcome to the NFL where 80% of players fall off at 25. Like, I'm not saying he's going to do that, and he might be able to help you out this year. But it's just like, don't be shocked if he struggles this whole season long. I'm selling everything. I don't even want to deal with it, to be honest.
You better get ready for the Jake Fromm to Donovan Peoples-Jones connection this Saturday, Booner. I'm just letting you know. At least 85 yards and 2 touchdowns coming from it.
Next player.
You ain't gonna want to see me Monday if he does that. All right, go ahead.
How much time do we have time? I've got a lot more players here.
Go ahead.
All right.
We'll go
let's
quick
do-
through them. Quicker.
Let's do this. Let's do Colby Sorsdale. We'll stay on offense. We'll do a couple offense. Colby Sorsdale. Where are you guys going with that?
It had to, at least after Saturday, Thursday, it's fallen for me. Especially, I know they're moving over to tackle, but you're talking about a guy that's supposed to be the sixth man in the rotation. I think people weren't uberly confident in him moving over to tackle, being that sixth man, especially when that was Graham's low role last year. I know it wasn't at tackle, it was with guard and center, but Colby looked brutal out there at points on Thursday, and I think that you expect some struggles, but not like that. So for me, at least, it's fallen.
Yeah, I'll say falling, given what we expected out of him. I mean, we talked about him being like the first offensive lineman if there were to be an injury, and he has not looked like that. So I don't know if that's something that will probably be fixed, but I'm going to say falling at this point, based on what we thought he would be and how he'd look at the beginning of camp, when camp just started.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stay the same.
All right.
And I just think that
Trailblazer.
because I just do think, and I get the falling because of that preseason game. I think he's going to bounce back tomorrow, and I think he's going to just, like, as it goes here. Like, I'm not selling my stock of Colby Sorsdale. Like, he's not, like, he might be falling a little bit, but I think he ends up staying the same, and he ends up picking right back off. And when I watched the first half of the game the other day, like, I was watching Colby a couple plays. It wasn't as bad as I thought originally. Like, there's some other guys on that line I thought played, and maybe he was worse. Maybe he was worse in the second half. But, like, in the offensive lineman as a whole, like, if your line's playing good together, like, it's probably a lot easier. There was guys on that line, not Colby Sorsdale. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to do it, actually.
No good.
There were guys out there who were struggling, and guys who have been on this team before and who have maybe played over Colby at times that were struggling and they could not block, and they were trying to run behind guys like that, and they could not do anything. So, like, he might have been worse if I should have kept watching, but I think he bounces back. Like, this is a guy who needs the experience. He got thrown into the fire last year at tackle, and he never even practiced tackle last year, and he got thrown into the fire, struggled, and then now he's still learning. He's still young. He went to William and Mary. Let this man develop a little bit more. I think he's going to be just fine. If Dan trusts him, I trust him.
Whoa, Boone. You can't just be doing that now. Can't be doing that now.
Hey,
let that man develop.
Trust Donovan Peoples-Jones.
He doesn't. He doesn't say he does.
But what if he does? What if he ends up trusting him?
I've watched every press conference. He talks positive about Colby. Doesn't talk positive about DPJ.
He trusts Nate Sudfeld.
He does. Hey, that's why. Hey, all right. Doris Fountain.
Doris Fountain.
Yeah, where you guys?
We're doing over at camp as a whole, correct?
Yeah.
He's got to rise. I don't even say anything. He's got to rise.
Yeah, I'll say rise. I really do hope with a different quarterback he does have a big game this Saturday. I think he just needs one. I mean, like, that's the thing. You see, like, I remember, and I'm not trying to make the direct comparison, but this is factual. Trinity Benson had a big preseason. No, I do no.
Jeff, we've had conversations. You fell for the Trinity Benson hype train. When the Lions were 3-13-1, you like Trinity Benson.
Trinity Benson was playing his lights out in the preseason. Never sniffed any playing time. That was it. So he's got to continue to build on that hype. Like, he's got the hype from training camp, making plays, playing with the ones. We got to see it. Like, we got to see that thing parlay into the preseason and then parlay again into the regular season. So I like Doris Fountain. I think he can do it, but it happens with players, man. Like, the hype's there in training camp. They make plays in practice, and then preseason, you know, I'm hoping to see one of those, 4 catches for 50 yards, or, you know, he just does something. That's it. So
because he was with the Chiefs before too, right? Like, the last team, was it the Chiefs or the Ravens?
Chiefs.
Yeah. Chiefs. Former team. Get back.
Yeah, I mean, I do think a rise though. I'm all in on the rise with Doris Fountain. I thought I sent it to you guys earlier. When I was watching the game, I took a video on my phone of Doris Fountain on a slant route beating his defender, and Nate Sudfeld just throwing the ball 10 feet over his head. Like, it was one of the more like, oh my gosh. And then Jeff, this is where I remember I kind of pushed back on you the day after or the Monday after or Friday after when we did the show. We were like, one of your guys was Doris Fountain, and I was like, you have to go back and watch, because I saw multiple routes this morning watching the game. Darius Fountain beat his defender by 2 steps, and he's downfield, and Sutbell just throws the ball down and just dumps it off, and you get a yard. And he's like, hey, dude, why don't you look downfield? You have Darius Fountain wide open. Like, Jared Goff hits that. Jared Goff hits the slant when he beats his defender by two feet. Like, and Nate Sutfield's just throwing it 10 yards over. So, like, I think Darius Fountain, put him in the right position with the right quarterback. Like, he's improved and throughout camp. Like, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to end up being fine. He'll make the team. And I don't think people before the reason it's rising, I don't think people before this, like 2 months ago, would have even thought he would have been on the team.
That's why it has to be rising. But I'm still like, and although I do agree with that last game, it was unfair. And I even retracted. It was unfair for me to, harp on the guy. But we can't do this 3 games in preseason and keep going, well, just let him, he's fine. Like, and then Isaiah Williams is making plays. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we got to get to a point where he's got to show something, show sign of life. And I think he will. I think this Saturday. I don't know who's quarterbacking at this point. I really don't.
I hope Hendon Hooker is out there first for Darius Fountain's sake.
Yeah, because I think it'll be good for him. Yeah, but we'll see. All right, we all agree there. Mutually.
Yeah, I'm gonna next one. Let's go back to defense. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
And then I'm going to go first with this. Before I name the guy, I'm just going to say I hate to do this. So it's getting emotional. No, I'm going to say this guy's declining. I'm selling everything.
Yeah, you could see the emotion.
Very, 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 very. And I'm going to just keep bringing this up that I saw the game today in the first half. This man looked brutal. There was 3 straight plays where this man missed tackles, and I'm not kidding, where he was right there face to face with the running back and dives at his legs and just completely misses the tackles. 3 straight plays. This is James Houston. James Houston. I guys, and I know he's getting back to edge. I don't know if it's me. He looks like he's a bit bigger. I don't know if that means his edge, like he's maybe not as quick as you. I don't know, but I'm interested to see. This is a big 13, 14 day stretch for a guy named James Houston, I think. But right now, I think he's a little on the decline from what we've seen and what we were expecting at the beginning of camp.
I'm going to say, because camp as a whole, I'm just going to say stays the same, because I think when he gets moved back to edge, like, he's going to be fine. I think that's just like plays like that, Booner. I think that's just like the definition of overthinking and not just playing the game. I think James Houston is a guy that you've seen him before, been able to make plays in the backfield, both on the quarterback and on the running back. Maybe not consistently against the run, but like in checkdowns, stuff like that. Like, James Houston can hold his own for the most part, one-on-one in the open field. We talk about Sam. It's like, okay, you got to worry about the run fit. You got to worry about setting it. Like, there's so many much things that you have to worry about. And I just think that we're watching James Houston play a little bit, not worried as in scared, but worried and messing up. And I just think he's just, one, realized that there's a lot of pressure for him to perform, and he's been worrying at learning a new position as well. So putting him back in the same spot, I think James Houston, I don't know if he's going to be, I know he's not going to be that 9.5, 11 sack guy that people thought he was going to be last year, but I still think he's going to be a guy that goes out there and gets you 5 to 6 sacks, just like Marcus Davenport, obviously in a different role, but I still think he goes out there and does that. So James Houston for me stays the same.
And that's, it's adorable. Like, I love what you just said. Like, it's great. The human being,
this man just likes the guy. Like, cool. Hey, welcome to our world where we tell the truth.
No, in all seriousness, like I get the human element of it. Like, he's overthinking and everything. But if we're going off the stock market, he's falling. He just is. And based on what I'll speak for myself too for this. The narrative with James Houston, you did want him to kind of hit the ground running in training camp, like hit it and run. And you're going to see James Houston this, James Houston that. And I get, the 5 to 6 sacks thing, but this is a guy who he's not a sack a game for his career, because that's not happening. I will make that very clear. But I just haven't seen the James Houston love I expected. Like, I haven't seen the positive James Houston propaganda I expected. So I'm going to go falling. Think he could still turn it around. Hopefully now with being moved back to edge. But if you were to ask me, are you a little bit concerned? I would say yes. Absolutely, I'm a little bit concerned.
Again, that's why I think the next 13 to 14 days, this week and the next week versus the Steelers and practice, like that, it's huge for him. Like, he's moving back to the edge. That's all he has to worry about. And like, if he struggles at all tomorrow, like, he's going to get a lot of snaps, I'm sure, tomorrow. But if he's not out there showing out, what I said, when Dan said he's moving back to the edge, the next day we came on air and I said, he needs to go out there and he needs to show why he's a guy that's in this rotation. Like what Broderick did last week, to where, yeah, Broderick might have struggled in some plays, but half of the plays he dominated. You're like, yep, that's a guy that can be in the rotation. Like in the regular season, when the time comes to it and games matter, you're like, yep, a dude that just dominated and is pushing and bullying people around, we can roll with him. James Houston has to do that on Saturday. Like, I get he was playing the Sam last week, but if you just go back and watch, this dude missed so many tackles. And it's like, hey, if you're going to play the edge too, there might be a run play. Like, you have to be relied on to be able to make a tackle if that happens and it comes to your way. And it's just, for me, it's just like, he has to still prove it a little bit. Like, coming off the injury, it was 2 years since he had 8 sacks, and he's coming off a major injury. Like, yeah, I like James Houston. I'm a fan of James Houston, but at some point you got to be a little realistic and say, all right, we need to see it now.
Yeah, I get the injury thing, by the way. Like, he's
for sure.
It's only August, like, I get that. But based on what we've read, I'll say falling. But that's another one that I think you can make a good argument both ways. Like, I don't hate the stay the same argument. But
how much more do we have time for?
We'll do one more. People are liking it. People are enjoying it. So we'll do another one.
This is tough. I've got 4 good ones here. Let's do just a speed round.
Yeah, let's do it.
Don't explain yourself. Just rising or falling. Broderick Martin.
Rising. Easy.
Rising.
Isaac Ukwu.
Rising. Yeah. Definitely.
Isaiah Williams.
Rising.
A lot of risings. I like this. This means roster's looking good. Last one. We could talk about this one if you want. Or actually, let's do not the last one. Second to last one. Mike Bell said Levi O.
It's got to be rising.
Yeah, rising.
Right. That he's almost a starter. All right, last one here. You could talk about this. Jeff, you really can talk about this. Stephen Gilmore.
I'll go first, Jeff, just so you can. Yeah. I'm going to say stays the same.
Yeah. Stay the same. You're hoping to see more and be a rising, but I think he's about what he is last year, and that's a player that I like, but it's not enough to where I can sit here and argue rising. And I don't think he's falling either, so I'll say stay the same. Or
yeah. No, I
setting him out. He doesn't belong.
It's not that he's falling. All right, this is what it is. Dan said, hey, Stephen Gilmore, we need to see something out of it. Like, he came into camp day one, they said, hey, who do you want to see more out of? We would love to see more out of Stephen Gilmore. Like, this is the offseason for Stephen Gilmore to take a step. They've been holding him. They've been letting him develop for a couple years now. They've been, hey, let's get you going here. Let's get you in this developmental program. And Dan said, this is the year. It's either he takes a step forward now, or maybe we move on. Did he take the step, Jeff? He hasn't taken the step. Brandon Joseph took the step. Other guys took the step.
But
Kendall Vildor is in front of him.
Wouldn't that fit the argument? Because you're saying take a step forward, but I don't think he took a step back. I think he's just
he didn't take a step back. It's just
forward. So he stayed the same.
He's just a practice squad guy.
So he stayed the same.
Yeah, I guess we could say the same. I just think
what
we were expecting and what the expectation was for him, he didn't do it. So that's where a little bit like
And I hope with the injuries in the secondary, he plays on Saturday. That's actually one of the guys we were going to talk about it, like who has the most to prove. I think you got to throw in Stephen Gilmore a little bit in there. That, like, he's got a lot to prove. If he goes out there and plays corner and he looks really good, dude, I think he has one of the more most to gain on the defense in terms of like because he can go from getting cut to like, oh, you know what, we'll keep this guy around. Like, I like him.
Get him out there one-on-one Xavier Worthy. So that goes.
Yeah, well, he's two guys that aren't thinner framed. Mm-hmm. It's fair matchup.
Throw him out there with Rasheed.
No,
let's not do all that.
No, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yeah, I think he's got a lot to gain. I think another guy on Saturday that's got a lot to gain would probably be Josh Pascal if he plays. I think that's like if he plays, dude. I need something out of Josh. I mean, I've been fighting like a lawyer all season for this man and last season. I've been really trying to plead my case and tell you guys. And last year even, I've really been trying. I've been digging deep in the last couple of months. I've been digging deep and I've been coming up with nothing. I just don't have I'm out of gas at this point. Like I got nothing for you.
I
guys.
think you're just
I really hope he can still be a solid contributor because I do think he can.
Like I think sometimes, and it does matter, but sometimes I think people put a little overweigh the importance of offseason when it comes to certain players. I think there's some players that you do have to lock in on, but there's some players where it's just like, you know who they are. If you're not hearing about a decline, like I feel like if there's a decline in Josh Pascal, a second-round pick who's got a lot to prove this year, you'd hear about it. When you bring in a guy like Terrell Williams, you get the defensive line around him better. I think there's just some guys where it's like, all right, we're not hearing that much, but you've seen Josh Pascal make impact plays, not consistently, but you've seen plays.
Right.
So you're like, okay, better defensive line head coaches, better overall team, better secondary, etc. I think Josh Pascal by default will take a step this year, and I think he has all the talent to do so. He can get to the quarterback and play the run. I'm not worried about Josh Pascal.
It's fair. And we've had that convo boom before about players you don't hear a lot.
Again, I get that, Klotz. I get it. I think more so the ones you don't hear about are the ones you know what they are, like really know. Amon-Ra St. Brown's, Kevin Zeitlers, Penei Sewell's. Like I don't know why I just put Kevin Zeitler in the same category as Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra. I was just thinking of guys on the starters, but like for me, like Kirby Joseph, like just guys. Hey, we know what you are. You've gone out there and you've been very, very successful and you've played at a high level. For me, though, the Josh Pascal thing, it's like he's had his stretches of good football, but he's also a guy that has been talked about, and it's been very public with the Lions. It's been public with media around the city of Detroit. Josh Pascal is a guy that needs to take a step at some point as well, like more consistent over a good period of time. And has he done that? Like, have we heard that? No, probably not. Like we haven't. And maybe that's something that we can ask the doc to ask Dan Campbell or ask Aaron Glenn, or we can ask some of these guys, hey, can you mention this? Or what's going on with Josh Pascal? Because it is interesting to me that you haven't heard much about Josh Pascal and you're hearing about Levi O. Like,
and they're both second-round picks.
Yeah, like the fact that Levi O was dominating and you're hearing some about that, like that's what you wanted as well to hear from Josh Pascal this offseason. That, and at least in my mind, that's what you wanted. So I'm interested. I did just text the doc. I wanted to know what his thought was on Josh Pascal, just if it's something like your point, Klotz, because there are guys like that to where, hey, it's a good thing. I was saying that about Jack Campbell, like, hey, he's just being Jack Campbell, so it's a good thing you're not hearing about him. Maybe it's like that with Josh Pascal, but I'm interested to hear what the doc says.
Yeah, he could. And honestly, this is why I love, we talk about training camp and then we get to the season and it could flip flop and Josh Pascal looks really good and Levi just looks terrible. Like, who knows at this point? I really don't. But we'll see. We got preseason over the weekend, fellas. Another week of football, another week of the young players playing.
Real quick, with the Josh Pascal thing, you said player that has the most to play for or prove. Can I throw one out there?
Go ahead.
I only wrote one player down.
Go ahead.
Jake Bates.
Oh wow,
yeah. Jake Bates. I think that's a big one. Like Jake, he's improving. He's hit some. When we were there, he doinked like a 30-yarder off the pole and missed. We saw him a couple days before that hit like a 64-yarder in practice to win the game down the stretch in a situational drill, and he hit the one in New York. I want to see Jake Bates tomorrow. I want to see him kick 3 or 4 field goals. I want to see him not just 50-yarders and 60-yarders. I want to see him kick a couple 30 and 40s. I want to see him kick a couple extra points, because I want to make sure he's consistent. I think it's huge for him this week and next week. And it sounds like too, someone actually I'll save it because we're doing a Q&A. We put a tweet out today, and if anyone's listening right now who wants to go put a question on our Twitter, we put out a Q&A tweet for later in the show. But there's a Jake Bates question on there, so I'll just leave the rest for that. But I think Jake Bates.
Where are you guys with him as far as rising, falling, holding stock-wise this offseason?
I think he's holding.
Okay.
I think he's just the same. And I think like people like compared him to Badgley. I think like if he's just consistent, which we want to see, he's just Badgley but with a bigger leg. And you can
that's a good. I think if he's Badgley, like that's exactly what the Lions need. Just to your point,
you just need his confidence to get up. That's all it is. And there's a question in the Q&A about him too. That's interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that 9:30. We posted on our X account for people to ask questions. They wanted to do like more of an extended mailbag, like a Friday, all the fans ask questions, we'll answer as many as we can. I think it's good content too, so we're going to get to that in a little bit. I think Jake Bates, I agree. I think it's holding right now. I mean, I hope at preseason you start to see the uptick, because I think preseason, the thing you can measure is for kickers, no doubt, because it's just, unless I guess the crowd a little different, not as much pressure, but like just their ability to be accurate is something you can't look at. So Jake Bates, hey, is it game in Kansas City? I know Coach just asked, right?
It is. Yep. Yep.
Okay, so
only one preseason game in Ford Field next week
Mm-hmm.
versus the Steelers.
Oh, cool. All right. But yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah, we might as well. I mean, we can just you want to just go right to X and just get some of these questions, because I'm looking at them right now. There are a couple.
How many do we have? And I guess too in the chat, if there's people in our YouTube chat, it's basically just going to Detroit Lions Q&A. So if you have any questions preseason or even regular season Detroit Lions questions, I'll start, Jeff. We can do the Twitter ones or the X ones first, and then I'll start starring if you guys have just. It's basically a Detroit Lions Q&A segment for the next 15 minutes. We just want to answer, especially with the game tomorrow. I feel like it's a good thing. And as well too, hit the like button. We don't say it. I feel like hit the like button.
Yeah, hit the like button. I love that.
We have 180 people in here. We only have 50 likes. Let's get to 100 and let's get to 150 likes.
Oh, well, here's Detroit Times. I appreciate him, by the way. Always supporting the boys here on social media. He asked, do you believe Jared Goff is a true shot at MVP this season?
Here we go.
So Booner, I'll let you go first because you've talked about it a lot. Me and Klotz kind of are in lockstep with it. I just think given the situation, I'm a little more hesitant, but what say you, Boone? True.
I mean, I don't think I need to speak on it. That was one of my bold takes. Was I think Jared Goff, and honestly, I know you guys are like, oh, here we go. We did our predictions for those guys, the receivers, right? I'm not wrong, right? And you guys all had Jared Goff at 4,400 to 4,500, and that's leaving out about 200 to 300 more yards of just random guys, Brock Wrights, Demonts, like all these random players, Sione Vaki, like. So you guys essentially think he's going to have 34 touchdowns, 32 to 35 touchdowns, 4,800 yards.
If everyone stays healthy, yes.
So if that happens, Jared, and you're the number one seed in the NFL, Jared Goff will be in that conversation. And I get your guys' whole point with all of this.
Not the conversation, though, Booner, winning it. Winning like a true
shot at MVP. I think so. I think top three. I think if you're a top three in the votes, you have a chance to win it. And I think Jared Goff does. I think he does. I truly do. And I think he's in his prime right now. He's just gotten better year after year after year after year. He has never declined in his career. And now Ben Johnson returns another year. He's adding more weapons and better weapons to this team. Weapons are getting better. Like, guys, come on. You like acting like it's impossible is one of the craziest and most disrespectful things, I think, to a quarterback on a football team that's one of the best teams in the entire NFL.
Don't flip it to disrespect, because that's where we get into these heated discussions. No one's disrespectful.
Feels a little disrespectful.
It is not disrespectful at all. I think I already made the argument. I think the race this year will be more. There'll be an influx of quarterbacks in the race that it's going to be hard for him to win MVP. Like last year, what do you have? Last year, 45, almost 4,600 yards, 30 TDs in 12 picks. I think he was number 2 in passing yards, number 4 in yards, and he wasn't in the convo. And I get you bring up the Dallas game, but I think he'll have relatively similar stats this year. And I think with the uptick in quarterback play with Mahomes returning to form, Stroud now in the conversation, Joey B healthy, like that's why I don't think he'll win it. You know, and I've made that clear. Not a disrespectful thing to Goff. I still have him having a good year. I just don't see it with the competition. And I think Klotzy, me and you kind of have the same take on it.
I don't even need to add much more. I think Jared Goff's probably a top 7 quarterback in the NFL this year, but I don't think that just makes you a true shot at MVP.
Yeah, and that's where you're a little more high on that. But we'll get to the next one here. The next one is, who do you see? Shout out to Funk Doc. Yes. Who do you see as a surprise cut? Surprise cut.
I'll let you guys go first. I'm interested to see, actually.
Trying to think of like a good one. Like that's not like a.
I'll go with one.
All right.
Wait, does cut mean cut completely or practice squad?
That's off the 53. Like he will go to the practice squad, but like someone who surprisingly you're like, hey, you thought he was going to go to the 53 man.
I'll say one. Isaac Ukwu.
Wow.
Yeah. I just think with the amount of defensive linemen they have, I think he's the guy. Manny Betts is definitely cut. But Isaac, I just had to throw that in there. But Isaac Ukwu, I think, will be one that he gets cut and everyone's like, dang, like he's on the practice squad, but he's you're like, man, that guy, I liked him a lot. We have this every year with players where it's like, I like this guy so much. I just don't know if he can, if there's enough space. Like the defensive line room is so deep. They like Pecco's going to make it. They love Pecco. And I mean, we can go through it all. I mean, you have Aiden, Aline, DJ Reader. You have Marcus Davenport, James
5,
Houston,
6,
Broderick,
7,
Levi.
8.
And then you got Josh Pascal. And then you got missing someone, Makai Wingo and Kyle Pecco. See, I just think he's going to be a guy that just gets left off. And it's not because he's a terrible player. I just think the guys they have, man, they want to keep. So I'm going to go with Isaac Ukwu. I think he makes the practice squad. I just think he doesn't make the 53-man roster.
Klotz?
I don't hate that at all. And I don't know how surprising this would be, but I think we just got done talking about the emergence of Brandon Joseph, a safety. CJ Moore, he was obviously suspended all last year for the gambling suspension, and he's brought back, and he's a safety by default, but you really bring him back to be a special teams guy, and you look at that safety room and they're probably going to want to add to that cornerback room throughout the season just because injury. They already did it. I can't remember who they signed this week, but it's not going to be anybody long term. We look at, there's 3 to 4 very good safeties right now. CJ Moore, I don't think he really brings that much defensively. I think Brandon Joseph, special teams wise, can give you what CJ Moore does. So CJ Moore, a veteran, I don't think they're going to put him on the practice squad, so I could see him getting cut.
Wow. CJ Moore. I'm trying to think here, and there's one here, and I want to make sure.
Yeah, we're going surprise cut. And I think both the ones we mentioned would be pretty surprising.
Would it be crazy? I don't want to say this.
Booner's like, keep them all. Keep them all.
I don't want to say it. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to say it.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Would it be shocking if James Houston got moved to the edge and didn't perform the next 2 weeks and gets on the practice squad?
I think yes.
Or gets traded.
Because I think he's already been on the practice squad route. I think traded, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be mad with him. For him to be cut, I think that's, even if it's for a 6th, 5th round pick, like go and get it. Don't just let him go to because think if he were to go to like the Bears. You know what I mean? Like that's the last thing you want. If he goes to the Packers, this is the last.
Yeah, but like, all right, like let's just be realistic here. I want to be realistic for the people. I'm a man of the people here. Jeff, you just said he's on a decline, and I think that's fair to say. If you just and as well too, I'm just pulling I'm just pulling facts from what you said. Yeah, I'm just pulling the words out of your mouth, not in a bad way. I'm just saying. On this show so far today, you've agreed with me with saying James Houston has declined, and
absolutely
your cut guy is Isaac Ukwu because this defensive line group you can only keep so much. You just named 11 guys without Isaac Ukwu. Now think about who's at the back end. That's James Houston, who had to move from Sam to edge. What if he doesn't perform and he looks like he did last week and he's one of the lowest graded defenders this week, tomorrow versus the Chiefs? Or what if he doesn't even play because he's injured and then next week in the Steelers he's low? You're sitting there and you're like, hey, this is a guy who has to go out there in preseason and perform. And if he doesn't, you're looking at it and you're like, all right, he's got a year left on his deal. He's coming off a major injury. All right. Isaac Ukwu just went out there. He's had 4 sacks in the preseason. All right, what are we going to do here? Are we going to go with the younger guy that's been performing, is healthy, hasn't had the injury? Or are we going to go with the guy that's year 3, he hasn't really performed in 2 years, coming off an injury, and we keep trying to move him around and getting him in the right spots, and we just cannot find a fit for him right now?
So I disagree, and I did say that his stock's decreasing, but I actually disagree that he's last on the depth chart in the defense line room. I think the guys I'd put over or behind him, I'd put Broderick. I'd put James Houston ahead of Broderick right now, like in terms of his value. Like I don't think people would rather, or I would even do he's ahead of Makai, Kyle Pecco. Like he's a more established than those guys in my opinion. Even though like the stock's going down, I still think like if the coaching staff had to make a decision, they would still see what James Houston is, what he was his rookie year. So that's why I don't think he'll be cut. Like for you to trust Isaac Ukwu off of
This is my
offseason.
problem, though. This is my problem, and I know people are like, Booner, you're the Kool-Aid guy. Booner, you're a slappy. I get called a slappy a million times from everyone. I am realistic. Where like, and for me, it's recency. Like, what's been going on in the last 6 months? What's been going on in the last year? Like the James Houston thing. Like, dude, he's such a good player, and he's been such a good player. But hey, there are guys who have a good year. There are guys, and then have an injury, and they're not who they were before. And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with James Houston. Like, he has 1 year left on his deal. Maybe you ride it out and you're like, hey, he's
Well,
still,
you just said
still that
surprise
guy.
cut.
Yeah, I'm just saying, would I be surprised? Like, I don't know. I just think
He's
it's
so
an
into your
bubble. I think with the Ronan 99, shout out to Ronan. He's been tuning into us for years. I think like, hey, there is some sort of a battle going on with like he just moved from Sam to Edge, and now he's going to be in a battle with some of these guys who are already competing for Edge. And he's coming in.
But he's going to be like, I think you'd agree, like he's the next guy up behind Davenport, though. Like if Davenport goes down, it's James Houston.
Yeah.
And
I just want to see. I just want to see it. We haven't seen it since his injury. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. That's all. That's where I'm at.
That's fair. And Booner, this is not me trying to talk you down from Isaac Ukwu. This is more so just, in my opinion, how I'm thinking about it. I think Ukwu, great preseason game. But what James Houston has showed me in the regular season outweighs what Ukwu is going to do in this preseason.
When was that? Just on 2021?
Well, he was injured all last
year.
Year.
What do you want him to do? And even,
like, no, I get that. But again, that's where it's like hey, guys just love people.
But there's also like plenty of guys like 3 years ago. Jeff just brought up, a guy like Trinity Benson. They show amazing flashes in the preseason. When the regular season comes up, it's again,
it's like different when James Campbell's coming out and saying that this guy every single day.
He was talking up Chase Cota, Dylan Drummond, all those guys. I know they were wide receivers, but there's been multiple times like through just training camps in general since Dan Campbell's got here. He's been surprised the guys in training camp. Doesn't mean that you're going to move off or lock them into the active roster.
And I want James Houston to go out there and be.
I know.
Another one here, and I've seen this one in the chat already, and I think this is a lock for a guy to get cut. And I'm shocked we haven't really talked about him this offseason at all. James Mitchell, his time in Detroit is over.
That's a good one.
James Mitchell, really surprise cut. I guess you could say surprise because he's a draft pick, and you thought maybe he was going to be able to make it. I think Sam Laporta, obviously. Brock Wright is number 2. Shane Zylstra.
He's been having a quiet, good camp, Boone.
Very good. When we were there on Wednesday, he made a couple big time plays, like big time in situational football too. So like I think Shane Zylstra's in, and I think James Mitchell. Like to be honest, I think it's at the point to where like James Mitchell could go out the next 2 games and have a couple catches and do a couple things, and I think he's still a practice squad guy. Like
I don't even think he's not even a practice squad guy. I think that's the guy that team will pick up because he doesn't bring much value on special teams, honestly.
Yeah, I think his time in Detroit's over.
All right, we'll go to the next one here. This is getting good. I like this. The next one says, is it a stretch to put Goff near / in that elite conversation? This is from Go Blue at Season Go Blue. Appreciate you for the question.
Before we answer this, let's establish what we think, just for this conversation at least, what we consider elite. In my opinion, I'm thinking when I think of elite, I think of like those top 5 guys.
I would agree with that. I think there's
probably
I would say like Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Like those are those guys.
Yeah, I would say he's on the bubble. I put Jared Goff. If I do my top 10 quarterbacks, he's going to fall somewhere. It depends on the day, but he'll always between that 7 and 9 range probably. So do I think he's near? Yes, but I do think like that near. There's still a gap there, and I think it's like that for numerous quarterbacks around the NFL. I think the elite quarterbacks. They don't just grow on trees. Neither does Jared Goff, but those guys are just rare. I think you can't come by them. You probably, if you're an NFL organization, you have a chance to get those guys probably once every 15 years. So I don't think that Goff is in that conversation. Could he be close potentially with his production? Maybe, but just skill wise, no.
Yeah, I'm not going to put Goff in that elite level. Like we did our tiers with Goff, and again, I think that there's 2 things that can be true. I think he's not in that elite conversation, and he could still win an MVP at some point. And I think that's the same like the Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was never a top 5, top 3 quarterback. He was never on that level of guys up there, but he still was able to win an MVP. And I think there are those guys like Brock Purdy. I'm never putting Brock Purdy up there in that elite level, but guess what? Brock Purdy was a game away from winning MVP. So like I think that like we've had these 2 questions. He's not on that level there with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and those guys. Like, those are just different tier guys.
Yeah.
There are people out there that say that, hey, Josh Allen, I'm not going to say, you know what I'm saying. There. You guys are catching my drift. Crazy. But I will say Jared Goff is right on he is that next tier. When he's playing at his best, he's the next tier. I would go.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I don't want people to get it twisted either. When certain people hear this, I'm sure they're like, "Man, what are you guys talking about Goff like this and that?" You can still win with Jared Goff. Like, I don't want that to be like. Just think about that for a second. There's only 5 guys roughly in the league that you look at as like absolute superstar quarterbacks, like just cheat codes. The other, 27 teams in the league can still, like they're still, they're chasing a Goff, or at least to get to that point, So that's that ball don't lie. Goff is in the very good tier, like whatever it is. So you're very lucky. The Lions are very lucky to have a top 10 quarterback. I don't want that to be like the takeaway is like, oh, these guys hating on Goff. He can't be elite. Like, no, Goff is very good. Like, I wouldn't trade Goff for a majority of the league, right now at this point. But there are, unfortunately, there are some guys that are at that point, like Mahomes, and you'd say like Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and CJ Stroud and whoever you want to throw in there, Lamar Jackson, whatever your list looks like. That I just don't. I think near is fair. He's near.
Do you guys think it's kind of crazy the fact though, like 2 years ago, or 3 years ago when you trade for Jared Goff, like you can put him in that very good category in that tier? Because like I think 3 years ago everyone would be like, no way. And he's just gotten better and better and better.
And I know I bring his name up a lot, especially when we talk about JJ. But when the Lions traded for Jared Goff, I expected him to be like an Alex Smith, where Jared Goff's going to win you. Well, listen to what I'm about to say. When I see Jared Goff traded the Detroit Lions, who are at a low point, no wide receivers, I thought Jared Goff was going to be the guy to get you to like 8-9 wins. You draft a guy behind him, let him develop for a year, and then you move on. I thought he was going to be a bridge type of guy. He hasn't turned into that. He's turned into a guy that's led a top 5 offense. But to answer your question, like, no, when they signed him, I didn't think he was going to be a bum. Like, the narrative around Jared Goff when he left LA was like, okay, this guy's absolutely cooked. Sean McVay's moving off him for a reason. They're sending him to Detroit. His career is going to die. I was not on that. I was in the middle because some people, I think, expected him to go to like MVP level like he was in LA, which he's playing with right now. I was in the middle. I didn't think he was going to be overly good, but I didn't think he was going to fall flat on his face.
Yeah, that, and again, we're all in the same, like, we all share like the same opinion. There's not really anything to. I see someone said in the chat, burning issues. We're going to put CJ Stroud in the elite category already.
Yeah. If you have a problem with it, that's fine. Let this year finish. But CJ Stroud, the throws he was making as a rookie, not only like the power that he has, the touch, the platforms that he was thrown off of, the poise, like his game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think all 3 of us were there at Stick's house. When we watched CJ Stroud against the Buccaneers, and you're like, holy hell. Like, the Buccaneers defense is one of the elite defenses in the NFL, and CJ Stroud had one of the craziest games of the year.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man. It's like he was making those throws at Ohio State, one would say.
He was. My
Ryan
Day.
One would say.
Yeah, the Ryan Day. It's hard when you have.
Hey, I'll own up to that miss.
Oh yeah, trust me. We have plenty of them. We all have.
Oh, we all do. Yeah, for sure.
We all.
Hey, the man at Ohio State, he was an absolute dog.
Couldn't
beat Michigan though.
Hey, yeah, he could not.
It's the Ryan Day effect.
I think Briar Gallahue. Appreciate you, my man. He says with Jeff Risden saying today for DLP that it appears Bates is the kicker for the season. How do we think he changes Campbell's in-game decisions, and how much confidence we have in Bates going forward? So I'll say the first question, or the first part of the question, I don't think he changes much. Maybe sometimes there'll be if the guy can hit especially long kicks, he'll be like, you know what, maybe this will be a good time to kick. But for the most part, Dan's Dan. No one's going to change that. He wants to put his offense out there and convert the first down, or convert the 4th down. So that's where I'm at. I don't think it changes much. And I do have confidence in Bates. I've made that clear. So I think he'll be fine for the season.
I think he's not going to change, to your point, not going to change much. But if Bates starts to get consistent and he shows it, there are going to be times probably from last year, and I'm sure Dan would say the same thing, that over the last 2 years, there were moments to where he probably would have looked at it at like a 50-something yarder and be like, want to kick this. Like we want to kick this. And there are probably those times, but there are probably all those times to where he is very aggressive and he's Dan Campbell and he's going to go for it and he's going to be that guy, which is fine. But I'm sure like there were a couple times here and there to where he's like, hey, we wish we had a guy that could do that. So I think if Jake Bates gets consistent and you can trust him and that leg gets consistent and trustworthy, I think there's going to be a couple more times to where Dan's sitting way out there, and a 4th and 7, a 4th and 10, instead of being like, hey, let's try and get something here. They're going to be like, all right, let's just kick the field goal. Because there were a lot of possessions last year, a long 4th down that they're going for it. And there was a couple of long 4th downs where they ran it on 4th down and they ended up getting it at times. But you're just like, oh man, this is. So I do think that there's going to be a little bit, but I don't think Dan changes in some of those decisions completely.
I think everything just stays the same, fellas. I do. I think it's Jake Bates brings you a stronger leg, but Dan Campbell's philosophy will not change offensively. I think he can trust Jake Bates, but he, at the end of the day, every time he's going to trust that offense more.
Yep. That's well said by both of you. We all agree. Let's see. The next question is DJ Reader going to miss the opener from Section 344 Lions? We don't know yet. I hope he doesn't.
I don't think so.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think happens?
When we talked to Doc the one day, it was a couple weeks ago, Doc was like, DJ Reader is going to be fine week 1. And I just think when you look at DJ Reader, he's not out there in camp, but he doesn't really need to be out there in camp. I think in the regular season, he's not going to be out there for the full game. Just the size that he is playing at, like he's going to need some breaks. So I think DJ Reader, they're probably just letting him get completely healthy, and probably towards the start of week 1, you're starting to practice, probably a little bit before that. But I think DJ Reader will be out there week 1.
Yeah, I don't
think he is out there week 1, but I'm not panicking about that. That's all. That's I guess. I don't think he'll be out the first game. I think they give him a week, practice that week, and then he gets back the second week.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what side to go on here because it's. I hope he's back week 1. Like I would love to have DJ Reader out there, but if there's like a little bit of like, hey, we need to give him another, like you said, Jeff. Like if there's a little bit of like, we need to give him another week. We want to make sure he's 100%. I would rather wait. Personally, I would rather wait just because it's like this is a guy you need down the stretch. Like I want DJ Reader in meaningful football down the stretch, and if he's still battling something a little bit, just let this man get 100%, 110% before he's back. And if he's like 95%, all right, let's let Levi run and let's let Levi and Aleem go out there, Broderick go out there, and then we'll figure out a way to win the football game. So I don't know. There's no reports on it. There's no like timetable either.
Yeah, you haven't really read too much. Well, Bill has us our next question. Bill Dirks. He says, which game this season are you most worried about, and why did you say the Rams?
I
think this is obvious. Honestly, I think there's one answer.
I don't think so, but I think I think you think there's one answer, but we always split this here, and I've stayed consistent.
I mean, realistically, the biggest game of the season is the only other team that's probably going to be fighting for the number 1 seed. Like that is the most important game of your season. I'm not worried about, like I guess most worried about, but I think it's like that's the one all season long I'm going to be thinking about, and I'm like, this is the game. This is the game. You both could go in there with 12 wins, and the winner comes out with the 1 seed. The 1 seed is the biggest, most important part, in my opinion, this year to go win a Super Bowl. If you can get 2 games in Ford Field to go to the Super Bowl, you are not losing those 2 games. You will not lose in Ford Field in the playoffs. And if you win that 49ers game, you probably get the number 1 seed. And I think that's the one everyone in the back, every Lions fan in the back of their head, whether you say it or not, that's the one that sits back there and you're like, this is the one. That's the game. On the road, 49ers, 1 seed on the line.
I mean, I can't fault you for it, but like, great take. I think that'd probably be my number 2, but it's game where I'm going to use games just against the Packers, because I see your logic with the 49ers, Boone, like in the 1 seed, but you need to win the division before that. And I think the Packers, if everything goes well for them, they very well could compete for that number 1 spot too. And if you talk about splitting even with them, like that, if the Packers, we talked about yesterday, their ceiling's probably 12, 13 wins, the Lions 13, 14. Like they're right on the Lions' heels. You got to be able to go into Lambeau like you did last year and beat them, in my opinion, because I think that's a statement game. And then you have to beat them at home this year. They came into the house on Thanksgiving and absolutely lit up the secondary. And I think even they're very similar as far as, I don't think as upper end talent, but matchup problems. I think the Packers can pose just as much matchup problems for the Lions as the 49ers can.
Yeah, copy and paste what you just said. I don't know if you're in my head or something. Like, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna bring up the Packers. Like, no one's gonna bring this up. Like, I was gonna say specifically on the road in Green Bay, because I think they'll win at home. But if they can beat them at Green Bay, you sweep the Packers, I'm jumping up and down. I'm excited because at least you got the division. Like, but the Packers or the 49ers, I think should be the only like two answers. Like, I actually love Boone's take too. I don't hate that. If you want to say the 49ers,
I get that because like even Dan says it all the time when it comes down to like these games, like the most important games of the year. It's like those divisional games, like, yeah, it's the Packers. I think it's like the Packers, the Bears, the Vikings. Like all 6 divisional games are so big because if you go win 5 games in your division, you have such a good chance to win the division. I know they did 2 years ago and lost it, but like I just see if you go out there and like say you go 2-0 versus the Vikings, you beat the Bears twice and you split with the Packers. All right, you're in a good spot, and like I think you're sitting pretty. So I think it's like to that point, like I agree. I just think it's all division in general. Like you have to like take care of divisional games. Those games essentially count for. I mean, I guess if you're doing the math, you're looking at it like especially to win. Like it's basically like 2 games because you're putting a loss on them and you're giving yourself another win. So like essentially you're looking at it and you're like a team that's going to be number 2 in the division. We need to give them a loss. We need to put that on their record. So it is big. I think it is a big one. I just like, for me, I guess more so like I expect the expectation is to win the division. And now the like now we're chasing 1 seed Super Bowl. That's kind of my mindset on it.
Yeah. And they're both, I don't think both takes are not incorrect. Like, I think they're both fair. Like it's like because I said yesterday, my thing is it's like a worry, but I don't want to say it like it's a concern, but my biggest like focus, I think the Lions' biggest focus should be winning the division. And then the 1 seed comes after that. Like then you can get the 1 seed, just win. And then they both could happen at the same time if you win 13, 14 games. Because you'll be the best in your division and you'll get the 1 seed, but at least just win your damn division. That is everything, man. So we'll move on here, but hopefully that answers your question, Bill. Lightning bolt. What uniform should the Lions wear opening night against the Rams?
All black.
Wear the funeral. That's what you got to wear. Yeah. I don't think they will.
Wear the blues. It's the new uniforms. The brand new uniforms. The blues are, in my opinion, like I do like the blacks, but the blue uniforms are literally exactly what I asked for in a jersey, in a uniform. I think those blue uniforms, they're going to be a staple. They're going to be iconic for what you think about when this team goes on the run that they're about to. The blues.
To be honest, Klotz isn't wrong because the blueberries, the all blue and the all whites. Klotz, remember we were running social last year? We kept putting up graphics like the record with the blueberries and the records with the all whites. They do not lose when they wear the all whites, and they do not lose when they wear the all blues. So like when they mix and match, like when they would go on the road and go like white and gray, or they would like
Thanksgiving,
white and blue, or Thanksgiving throwbacks, or like all these different ones. It is like I think there was a point, and you could probably go fact check me on this. I think when the Lions went on that run towards the end of the year and then went on the playoff run, I don't think they switched up. I think it was the blueberries, and I think it was the all whites both times. I know they lost in San Fran, but they were up 17 dominating, and I think they were wearing the all whites. And I think as well, the 2 home games, I'm pretty sure it was all blues. I think it was the blueberries. So I'm all in. Anytime at home, you better wear those blueberries, baby. But I would like to see the black at some point.
The black uniforms will be there, fellas, but you got to handle business first. Got to handle business.
Oh, why are you talking like the wise uncle? I mean,
word from the wise. Word from the wise.
Well, that'll.
You got to know the family before you make it to the funeral, Hefe.
Yeah, that's. I'm not gonna argue that. It's fair. I mean, you see Tom, he says black unis against the Seahawks on Monday Night Football. That's actually the game where Calvin gets
perfect.
Ring of Honor. Perfect. Tom. You might have just cooked, Tom. I think Tom just cooked. You wear the black with Kelvin in attendance.
Oh, I like that.
It's a funeral. It's a funeral for the Seahawks, which seem to have your number. It all kind of.
If they lose this year to the Seahawks, man, that'll just be so annoying.
Would you guys have liked the Kelvin game to be week 1 versus the Rams, like with Stafford in attendance? Like,
no,
I just thought I literally just thought of that.
Let Kelvin get a shine on Monday night.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think he will. But I like Sunday
the
night football.
storyline is better Booner that way, but
You know what I mean? Like Sunday night football, week 1 opening. It's the first Sunday night for everyone. Like Monday night football, everyone's watching because it's the lone game as well on Monday night. But for me, at least, like I love Monday night football, but I don't know, like something about Sunday night football to me. I'm a fan of Sunday night football.
But you look at it, Booner.
Yeah,
player intros.
Hey, but you got to look at it from a business perspective. If I'm the Lions,
yeah,
I
double it up.
Week one's already gonna absolutely be sold out. I gotta save Kelvin for another game.
You want to sell money.
Yeah, because if I put Kelvin with the game, I already know it gets sold out. You know, they're all going to get sold out. It is like the publicity side of it.
I know people.
I want Kelvin on Seahawk night.
I know there are people out there who don't like Stafford. I do. I'm a Stafford guy. I do like Stafford. I mean, I get like the distractions. He is the enemy week 1. But hey, they would have been sweet. Like as much as people might not have liked it, like it would have been cool to like have the ceremony and have Stafford there just in the corner watching, probably in the tunnel watching. Like that would have been a cool moment.
Nope. Didn't earn it.
People just don't. It's too Klotz.
Yeah, he's a Stafford hater. So I mean,
I mean, this dude hates everyone besides like.
I
saw a graphic today. I saw a graphic today that had it was they ranked the third string quarterbacks in the NFL, not even backups. I think it was FanDuel that did it. They ranked third string backups in the NFL. They had Nate Sudfeld like 23, and guess where they had Clayton Tune like 28. They had Nate Sudfeld over Clayton Tune.
You even know that's not right.
No
you
way.
even know that's not right. Bill.
8. What was the 9 behind him?
Oh, I don't, dude. It was crazy. There was like 20. It's on FanDuel. You can probably go on your Twitter and pull
Nate
it up.
Sudfeld is the worst active quarterback in the NFL right now, and I will die on that hill. Die on that.
Spends the time to like make that.
I don't. You're ranking quarterback threes. Like I was like when I was gonna send it to the fellas. Like, hey, let's just. I'm like, I'm not talking quarterback threes.
Imagine having to like not only rank them, but then have to like justify your answers.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like you got to give the little clip notes. On
Joe Milton was like, I think top 5, like already, and it's just like, all right, I think these are just this is just a clickbait thing.
I'm trying to find it now. I want to find it.
Let me see. I can find it and send it to you.
Dude, that is insane. I'm more upset. Not even the Nate stuff. I'm just someone to actually spend time ranking quarterback.
Don't get mad at the craft. That's a lover of the game right there, Jeff.
Yeah, that's
if you were searching and digging deep for topics and you couldn't find anything, you had one right there.
Yeah,
courtesy of FanDuel.
No, I promise you, dude. Like, if like I saw it and I was gonna send it, and I'm like, we're not doing this as a topic. Like quarterback threes, like bro, Joe Milton was top 5. That was unbelievable.
Who was number 1?
I don't know why I can't find it right now.
Carson Wentz a QB2.
This is, I don't know if does anyone know where this is? I don't know. Like maybe it was like a fake account I saw.
Hey, I want to see where Tanner McKee is. You see the hype Tanner McKee's getting in Philly?
No.
Yeah. Hey, because he played better than Kenny Pickett on that preseason game, but all the Eagles fans wanted to be the backup.
Hey, did you see Matt Corral just signed with the Minnesota Vikings? Better watch out. Watch out.
I like Matt Corral too, but he's
I didn't.
You didn't? I liked him. I don't know who was in that draft, like quarterback wise, but I was like, I like him as like a mid-round pick. I was like, I like Matt Corral.
Take a flyer on him.
Yeah, but it didn't even. I mean, the guy has not even got a job, so terrible take. But yeah, Kenny Pickett.
I'm trying to find this so.
Hey,
bad
Kenny
right
Pickett
now.
might even lose his job in Philly. And they traded. What did they trade for Kenny Pickett? They traded something, and I think the Steelers
can of beans.
They turned it into like Peyton Wilson. I think. Think about that. Kenny Pickett. And Tom B says Kenny Pickett's more ass than Lizzo. I mean,
the best quarterback 3 in the league is Taylor Heineke, without a doubt.
I got it.
Don't even try to disrespect it. It's Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix, and Taylor Heineke. Clear QB3.
You might be right. I'm trying to think of like a.
I am.
Taylor Heineke is he's number 1.
What do you know? Yeah, Mike White could be up there. No, Mike
QB3. All right, I just sent it in Slack.
Yeah, pull it up, Jeff.
Whoever made this is an absolute sicko. I mean, okay, let's.
By the way, too, while he's pulling it up, I just want the people to know the 160 people in here. First off, hit the like button if you haven't already. We're not even at 100 yet. We have a lot of people. Hit it. Second off, Coach Booner is back tonight. As soon as the stream's over, Coach Booner is back. We are 3-2 or 4-3, one of the two. We are back. I think I might play all the way through into the college football playoffs.
Oh,
I don't think I'm going to lose another game, and I'm hoping to make it. I have like 7 games until the end of the season. I think I'm going to go straight 7 games. So come tune in. We're going to be live 10:05. I think the stream will take you. I set it up. The stream might take you straight over to this one. And if not, Coach Booner will put in the link in the chat here in just a little bit.
The green wave, baby.
Quarterback 3. And hey, maybe coaches are back. I don't know. I haven't talked to my assistant coaches, but they were suspended actually, indefinitely.
Oh well, this is just. I mean,
hey, DeVito, Tommy
Lance, Malik Willis,
Trey Lance.
Tommy DeVito should be 2.
Yeah,
Tyler Huntley, a Pro Bowl. He's the only Pro Bowler on the list.
Zach Wilson needs to be higher. Zach Wilson needs to be higher.
Wasn't Tyler Huntley a Pro Bowler?
Yeah. Somehow, some way.
Yeah, Malik Willis, again, even on a backup quarterback ranking, he's just overrated. Like Case Keenum, I'd rather have Case Keenum, Tommy DeVito, Tyler Huntley, and Zach Wilson over Malik Willis.
Scroll down all the way to the bottom. Shout out Stenson Bennett.
I would rather have Nick Mullins over Malik Willis. I mean, this is
Oh,
there's Tanner McKee, Devin Leary,
Jack Plummer. We made it.
Where's he? At the very bottom. He's 32.
Logan Woodside, very fine University of Toledo quarterback.
Plummer.
I don't know how to pronounce the Chiefs.
Jeff Driscoll, remember him in Detroit?
Yeah, the draft.
Hey, to be honest, the only thing I think about with this list is if, say, Hendon Hooker can't be QB2, these are a lot of the guys at the top of this list, probably the top 10, are names you're going to be looking at to bring in for QB2.
These are guys that could be cut. Like some of these guys. I mean,
don't let PJ Walker land on the.
These are guys that are third in the depth chart.
Michael Pratt,
Tulane quarterback
that's
last year.
who we talked about.
Shout out Tulane. Yes, Michael Pratt was a dog, absolute dog.
Yeah, Max Duggan.
Yeah, I mean Devin Leary.
Yeah, hey, don't sleep on Leary now. Don't sleep on him. CJ Beathard, my God, I forgot he even existed. That's like Nate Sudfeld is like a Walmart CJ Beathard.
Yeah, wow. That's Stetson Bennett above one spot above him. Jordan Travis. I'd rather have Jordan Travis over like.
I didn't even realize he made it to the league. Shout out Jordan Travis.
Where's Kyle Allen?
Kyle Allen, he's right on there. He's 13.
Okay. Because
maybe he's QB2.
That's a dude I'd bring up the backup Jared.
Oh yeah.
Kyle Allen's pretty good.
There's a lot of guys on this list.
John Walford took
Nick
off.
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins, very fine quarterback.
Dude, the Nick Mullins era, throwing all those yards. I mean, dude can sling the ball. I'm not like, hey,
400 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you guys so much, man. Kory Woods.
Love you guys.
We love you.
Shout out Kory.
Joined the show today. Showed some love. Don't forget, check out Boone. Coach Booner is back. So it'll be on our channel live streaming NCAA College Football 25. So go watch the man rebuild Tulane and go chase a national championship. Until Monday, we'll be back. Content over the weekend. We'll catch you guys. Stay blessed out there. Have a safe weekend.
Peace. Love you guys.
Buy your merch.